Good Saturday evening, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I want to welcome everybody in. I hope everybody's been having a great weekend so far. We have a lot to go through. Very compelling testimony in the Karen Read trial on Friday. We had Matt McCabe, and then we had some direct on Jen McCabe. So lots of things going on in this trial. We're 3 weeks in now. Crazy stuff, and we're going to get into all of it tonight. I want to welcome all the subscribers in, the members, my moderators. So glad to have you all here on this Saturday evening, and I can't wait to get into all of this with you. I have a little bit of a presentation I want to bring up. We'll obviously go through the testimony, of course, and just see where we land, I guess. Let's do this. Let's look here in the chat, see who's here. Nice to see everybody. And I want to let everybody know, as we go through tonight's show, 25% of all donations that come in tonight will go to Karen Read's Defense Fund. This is something that I've been doing since the day trial has started. And we have raised already in 3 weeks over $650 towards Karen Read's Defense Fund. So there's numerous ways that you can donate if you'd like to do that. Snapchat. I almost said Snapchat because there's a lot of Snapchat talk in these proceedings, but you can do it super chat. My Cash App links will drop, Venmo, PayPal, all of that. Buy me a coffee, which is like a Patreon. And hopefully we can raise, I would like a goal of at least $50 kicked back to Karen tonight. That would be really great. And then what I do after the show is I go up and post the receipts on my Facebook page on LTL Media or on my YouTube community tab, just to post up the receipts to keep everything transparent. And you can also go right to the defense website and just look at recent donations. And I've been putting LTL chat raiser and then the date. So today's date is 5/18/2024. So want to get that all out of the way. Cindy checking in, channel member. I just dropped a channel member video. If you didn't see, I did a behind the scenes video here in the studio. I did tons of work today. We're almost completely there. And I have a little bit of a surprise for everybody here in a minute. And I'm very, very excited that this actually happened today. And I'll show you here in a second. So Cindy says, good evening, Brian. The studio is looking absolutely amazing. Great job. Looking forward to tonight's live. It's good to see you here. We have Jerry in the house, Virginia in the house. Bob, what's up, Bob? Linda checking in. Let's see. Says, man, Bob says, the man, that bass kicks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cam's over here. Great Dane Mom is checking in. Hello from Idaho. Loving the new studio. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. What the Fox is here. We have Rogue, my moderator, in the room. Thank you so much for being moderators and members. Jessica checking in. Elliot's checking in. Toronto, Canada tonight. Awesome. Colleen, hey, what's up? Renee, what's going on? Good evening to you. Cindy checking in. Mary checking in. Yeah, 3 weeks and they haven't proved it. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything yet. Have not seen one thing that is pointing in the direction that Karen Read did this. El Detecte Dewan checking in. Bob checking in. Yeah, Matt McCabe, the private investor. More like private dancer. Dragonfly checking in. Let's see. Us, LJ checking in. I'm down with a Venmo. Thank you so much. I think I just had a Venmo come through. Let's take a look. And if one of my moderators could keep a running total, that would be great. Colleen, thank you so much for the 25. She says FKR. So $25 will kick it off. If one of my moderators, maybe Mary or Rogue, can keep a running total, that would be great. Tsunami, what's going on? Renee says, looks awesome. Thank you. I just watched it. Thank you so much. And if you can just keep the running total, if one of my moderators can keep the running total, so we get $25, if you can drop it on in the chat, so we just keep transparency. All right, so let's get to the show here. But before I do that, I just want to show everybody. Look at what I did today. I got it. I know it's going to be a little underwhelming right now, but let me just show you this really quick. Second camera position. Look, I'll go over here real quick. Second camera position set up. So now we can have a guest. I can actually have a guest sit in the studio with me. Pretty badass. Nice position. I can see them right across the room there. So I plan on getting some live guests in the studio here soon, and hopefully starting next week we can make that happen. But I got to dress up the background. I know it's a little underwhelming right now, but set up the second camera position. I'm super psyched about it, and this is what I wanted to do. This is why I want to do this. Yes, no casting couch, but this is why I wanted to do this, because I want to actually have live guests come in and sit near me and say, hey, let's have an organic conversation instead of doing this over StreamYard all the time. But anyway, I digress on that. Let me drop that screen out and let me pull up my presentation, and we'll go through this presentation as the night proceeds. So let's pull this up. So Karen Reed trial, Matt McCabe in his text message, tell them the guy never went into the house. And if you watched me streaming the trial, my mouth completely dropped on the ground when I heard these text messages. And the thing is, yes, $25 already. Thank you. The thing is, where are these text messages coming from? They're not coming from the McAlbert's phone. Where are they coming from? This information has been provided by the feds. And I think that the McAlberts, the McCabes and McAlberts, they're sweating a little bit here now, because I don't think that all their deleted text messages, they thought that they were going to be able to erase that and it wasn't going to come back up. Well, guess what? The feds jumped in and is passing that information. Let's see. Christina, thank you so much for the 10. Just came through. She said, keep up the good work. Appreciate all you do. Much love from Doug and Dane in Idaho. Thank you so much. So we can add that to the running total. I think we're at 35 right now, and 25% of all donations tonight kick back to Kara Reed. All right, let's go through some of my notes, and then we'll get to Matt McCabe's testimony. We are going to do Jen McCabe's cross, and then I have some kind of thoughts that I was thinking about over the last couple of days that I want to bring up here as well too. All right, I'm going to try to buzz through this as quick as I can so I don't take up too much time. So we're at day 14. We got the lies going on. And first up was we had a little bit of direct that finished up with Lally, and then we had the cross from David Unetti on Matt McCabe. So just some observations, some notes that I took. Let's see. Matt McCabe on cross was bold, brash, almost smiling and laughing at one point. And David Unetti asked him, do you think that this is funny? Why are you smiling? Do you think this is funny? And he was very nervous. And I will get to all of that. And I have timestamps of everything here. He was a nervous Nelly. So just some other notes that I made. Caught on hot mic at one point saying things like, what the hell? And oh my God. On cross, he throws Julie Nagel under the bus about the black blob theory, basically saying that he never heard her say anything. He kept driving. And David Unetti actually asked him, when you were driving, did you have any type of ear pods in or anything that blocked your ears so you couldn't hear what was going in the car? And he said, no, I just essentially just kept driving. And then we had the old group text that exposed conversations between Brian Albert, Matt McCabe, Nicole Albert, and Jen McCabe. And he was caught in a group text monitoring and trying to photograph police activity around 34 Fairview 3 days after John's death. Some more notes that I took, and I have some timestamps here, and we'll go into this and make sure that we kind of keep notation of this. At 3:15:50, Matt McCabe, this is when the text messages were brought up, and this is when he got really nervous. Tell them the guy never went in the house, and Brian Albert responds with exactly. And these were some notable times where he was, the body language of him being nervous. He's at one point, he's like doing this, taking tons of sips of water. You can see him shaking. When he was using the laser pointer, his hand was all over the place. So I said he appeared to be most nervous around these timestamps, 2:09, 3 minutes, and 3:05 in his testimony when handed the text messages. That's what made him shit. And I don't think that he was ready for it. I don't think the way that David Unetti was going to respond to this, he was ready for it. So Matt McCabe on cross also at 3:05:15 and 3:07:15 was most nervous when asked about text talking about Kerry Roberts being interviewed by Trooper Michael Proctor. And then I thought this was pretty interesting. Keep this in mind, that the group text happened 2 days before Karen's SUV was processed. Remember, it was picked up on the 29th in Dighton. The vehicle was transported all the way back to the Canton Police Department. Why did it not go to a state police crime lab? Have no idea. Well, I guess we do know, because that's where the framing came in. And then on February 1st, members of the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab scene came to Canton Police Department and started to process the vehicle. So these text messages happened 2 days before Karen's SUV was processed. Now, when I look at all of this, I have to say, you have seized Trooper Michael Proctor, went all the way out to Dighton, Karen Reed's parents' house, flatbedded her SUV and drove it, I believe, 26 miles from Dighton to Canton. That's January 29th. You have the potential murder weapon in your possession. The potential murder weapon of a Boston police officer, nonetheless. And it takes you 3 days to process that vehicle? How does that make sense? A Boston police officer has been murdered, and you take 3 days to process that vehicle. Interesting. Then we had Jennifer McCabe. Jen! Every time I see this photo, I just got to go, Jen! 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 So on Cross, on Direct, that should be Direct. I'm sorry. We haven't seen Cross yet, but we will see that on Tuesday. So on Direct, I made a gaffe there. She appeared to be little goody two-shoes up there. She looked at the jury to make her points. She had fake tears at some point. Believe me, Alan McCabe and Jen McCabe, when they're doing this crying routine, there hasn't been one tear that's come out of their eyes. And I hope you all noticed that. And then she referred to Karen a bunch of times as the defendant, to try to distance herself. And then she went on to say in her testimony on Direct, he was my friend. I love John. He was an amazing guy, holding back fake tears as she glanced over at the jury. I got to get that soundbite. I'm going to clip that soundbite, I promise you. Jen McCabe testifies that her MS and her cold hands were the cause of the multiple house along the dying cold searches. So that was the cause of it, MS and cold hands. Some more notes that I took. Jen McCabe testifies that Karen said to her on the phone when she called her niece, John's niece. The phone was handed to Karen. She said, John didn't come home. They got into a fight, and that she left him at the waterfall, meaning Karen left John at the waterfall. And I believe that this is a tactic to intensify that Karen had to have been very intoxicated. And there's nothing that proves so far that Karen was intoxicated. On hindsight, everybody that has testified said that she was fine that night. She didn't seem impaired. But I'm going to tell you, everybody that's testified, they were drinking a lot of alcohol that night at the waterfall. They were drinking a lot of alcohol that night. It was a lot of drunk people. And there was a lot of drunk people back at 34 Fairview, too. So I grabbed this from Olivia. I thought this was a great tweet, and I kind of rephrased it here, and I hope Olivia doesn't mind. And if you're not subscribed to Olivia over on Twitter or X, you need to subscribe at Olivia Lambo. And I'll break this down. She says, as part of the delay tactic from Jen. Jen McCabe testifies that in the morning, Karen is frantic to find John, who hadn't returned, and Karen seeks help from Jen. Why wasn't Jen frantic as well? Her good friend, someone she loved, is missing. Despite the urgency to find John, she makes coffee and then delays Karen's search by inviting her over and says she'll drive them to look for John. She then drives them to John's house where John isn't. She knows this. Keep in mind, Jen has withheld her cell phone data, revealing the very disturbing search, Hoslang to Dying Cold, raising questions about her involvement and motive to delay Karen's search for John. Another tweet from Olivia. And I kind of broke this down. Again, more of the delay tactics. Jen testified that she knew John wasn't at Tom Beatty's place that morning after calling Tom to inquire about him. She says she didn't drive by Tom's house to check for John, which is much closer to her residence than John O'Keefe's Meadow Avenue house. So how could Jen have been aware of John's absence from Tom Beatty's before 6 a.m.? She didn't speak with Tom until 1:31 and 13 seconds p.m., hours after John's body was discovered at 6:03 a.m. This suggests that she must already known where John was when Karen initially called her. Jen even informed State Police Trooper Kathleen Prince during her February 1st, 2022 interview that follows Karen's initial call that morning. She started considering other friends John might have visited, like Tom Beatty, but found he wasn't there either. All right, let's move on. So the jury, I'm going to talk about the jury a little bit. And I have some sources that have reached out to me to kind of assure, and this is their opinion again. So we can't go 1,000% on this because we don't know how a jury is going to react. But I have sources inside that have been inside the courtroom, and they said that they appear to be very well educated, professional, and well-rounded. They appear to be very attentive and take lots of notes, and appear to be frustrated with all the sidebars at this point. They seem to be reacting when Judge Bev allows the Commonwealth to drag on and get pretty much anything on the record. They seem frustrated with all the objecting from the Commonwealth, and when Judge Bev doesn't allow certain defense evidence or information. I want to talk a little bit about paint transfer. And this actually was pointed out by one of my moderators the other night. And I can't remember who said this or in the chat. It might have been Rogue. It might have been Rogue, and she's in here tonight. And the funny thing is, I thought about this too, because in high school, my major was auto body. And I remember talking a lot about these accidents. Yes, it was Rogue. I remember talking a lot about these accidents or these type of accidents in my classes at my trade school. And I want to just point something out. So this is damage to Karen Reed's SUV that was part of the evidence in the case. And if you can see here, this is the very top of her light, okay? And if you look up here, this is a dent. And if you see all this little white in here, that is called paint transfer. And I'm going to prove it to you in about 2.5 seconds. So all this right here is paint transfer. And paint transfer is basically when you have two vehicles that collide. One might be a lighter color and you might have a darker color. And we can go back to kind of show it in this photo. See this? This is like a blue or probably a bluish car. Probably was hit by a white car. Okay. You see this here, this white vehicle sideswiped this blue car. Probably looks like, I think it's a Mustang. Must be a Mustang. Yeah, it is a Mustang. So here, this is all white. Okay, this is a lighter color. What is John's SUV? John's SUV is a lighter color than Karen's SUV. Well, this photo here was taken on the day out in front of 34 Fairview when the jury went to the house. I see a dent, and what is this little hole right here? What is this little BB hole or punched hole? That's not in this photo. And you can see after sitting for so long, all that paint, because this car probably sat outside for 2 years. You had weather, you had rain hitting it, or they probably potentially washed it before they took it there. Where is that paint? Where is that paint? I see a dent, a hole that wasn't there. That's very interesting. And this other little dent, but there's no paint there anymore. There's no hole here. And you can see here, dent, BB hole, or whatever the hell that is. And this other little dent right here. But again, going back, no paint. So that's paint transfer, which would mean that when Karen backed up to go leave and look for John, and we've seen it on the security camera, she hit his vehicle. and the paint transferred over. That's how that happened. All right. And then Alan Jackson, I guess, was caught on Channel 5 making a quote coming out of court the other day. And I love this. He said, Jen's story has more holes. So it should be that than Swiss cheese, but I put that by accident. So I come corrected on that. But has more holes than Swiss cheese. And I thought that was a great, and I can't wait until cross on Tuesday. All right, let's get to testimony. I'm going to pull that up. Thank you for letting me get through that presentation now that my voice is absolutely cooked. Well, let's get into some of this and go through this. I can't wait to go through all of this. Actually, I want to play that video later if I have time for it. Let's go to David Yannetti on cross. Here we go.
Good morning.
I'd like to start by
Speed it up
discussing January 22nd, the week prior to January 29th. Do you remember that Saturday? You had been at one of your daughter's hockey games that day?
If it's the Saturday before, we're saying?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
And you wound up going to the hillside in Canton, correct?
That is correct.
You went with your wife, Jennifer McCabe?
Yes.
When you got there, you saw Karen Reed and John O'Keefe there together, correct?
I was there previous to them, but yes,
Okay.
I saw them there, yes. Eventually, I saw them there.
I should have phrased the question that ultimately you ran into John and Karen together, correct?
Yes, I did.
And when you and Brian Albert
What am I doing here? What's going on?
with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes, there was a big group of people hanging out together, correct.
There were other people in addition to the ones that I've just named?
Yes, there were.
So you were with John and Karen for maybe around an hour or so that night of January 22nd?
I'd say, I don't know exactly what time they arrived, but yes, I'd say they were there for at least an hour.
And during that hour span of time, they appeared to be enjoying each other's company?
Yes.
And the two of them had arrived together, correct?
They walked in together, yes.
And there were no problems that night that you could see between John and Karen, correct?
Yes, I did not see any problems.
Okay. Now, moving on to the waterfall on January 29th. I am not going to go through with you who arrived when and who left when and where people sat at which table. We're going to skip all that. And I'd like to streamline the questioning if I can. And I just want to talk to you about 2 or 3 areas. You would agree that at the waterfall, the mood among the people who were there was festive, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Everybody appeared to be happy and enjoying themselves, correct?
Everybody was enjoying each other's company, correct.
Specifically with regard to John O'Keefe and Karen Reed, they appeared to be quite happy that Kaylee had been accepted into Bishop Fian, correct?
John, I recall talking to John about it, and he was happy that Kaylee was at Bishop Fian. I do not recall speaking to Karen about Bishop Fian, but definitely John was happy about Kaylee being in Bishop Fian.
All right. You have previously testified that they were both excited about that, have you not?
If I did, I did. I just know that John mentioned that he was out because he was excited.
Yeah, you notice that? Yannetti goes, I'm not going to go through all this and where people sat and all this. That's total dig at Lally. I love it. I love it. Just coming out on fire already. I love it. Yannetti.
Excited about Kaylee being at Bishop Fian. If I looped them both in, then they both were happy. I don't remember when I said it. I didn't put it this way. I didn't see her. She wasn't happy about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I'm just going by your words, sir. As far as
This guy seems like a real fuck. Like a real fuck. Like someone that he just seems like a real dickhead. Someone that I would not want to be friends with in real life, even if this wasn't going on in this trial. Just someone I wouldn't even want to associate with. Just seems like a cocky dickhead.
you could see, they were both excited about her acceptance, correct?
Yes, yes.
And they had just found out the previous day or so, correct?
I don't recall what day they found out, but I know that John had mentioned
It's a Rolex watch. You know, he gets up there on the stand. He's got his Rolex on. He's a fucking cocky motherfucker.
he had went out for some beers. He was excited because Kaylee got into Bishop Fian, and he mentioned he was out with another one of his friends whose daughter also got into Bishop Fian.
Right. And it appeared to be new news, correct?
Oh, yes.
Believe me, it's not. Listen, I'm not saying anything against Rolexes. I'm just saying in general, like, he thinks he's hot shit, you know, because he has all this stuff. That's the type of guy that he comes off with me. Like, He's Mr. IT. He's got his watch, all that stuff. Just someone that just seems like he throws everything in everybody's face. Everything. I got this. I got that. He's totally one of those type of people. Probably goes out to the bar and just talks about all the stuff he has. I got this. I have a car. I have this. Blah, 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 blah.
Waiting on. Yes.
Right. You hadn't heard it before. This was the first that you heard it, correct?
I don't know if I heard it, if a kid had already leaked it the day before or that day, but first I heard it from John.
But it was clear to you that it was really important to John O'Keefe that Kaylee get into Bishop Fien and go there, correct?
They applied. He was excited for her to go there.
And it was clear that he believed it was an achievement for her, correct?
Yes.
And you could glean also that John O'Keefe felt like it was an achievement for him as well, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did you glean that from him?
He was happy that she got in. I don't know what if he felt it was his achievement. He was happy for Kaylee.
Of course. And he was doing right by his sister's daughter, correct?
I don't know what that means. They can go to any school and do right.
All right. In any case, everything seemed good that night.
Everything was good.
There were no arguments.
There were no arguments that I saw.
John was drinking beer.
In my recollection, yes.
And you had previously testified that you saw Karen was drinking some type of clear liquid that you assumed was some type of vodka, correct?
That is correct.
But you didn't think that they were drinking much, correct?
At the waterfall? No, they were only there for an hour. So.
Right. And they got there around 11, correct?
Give or take, yep, 11-ish.
And that bar is pretty strict about last call, correct?
That is correct.
And you spoke with both of them during the course of the night, correct?
Yes.
Neither John nor Karen was intoxicated in your view, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
They were drinking. I don't know what the guideline of intoxication is, but they were drinking.
Do you recall testifying before the grand jury regarding this matter on April 26th of 2022?
If you have that, then I must. I don't.
I don't know what's going on here. Hang on a second here. There we go.
I don't recall my questions. That question specific, but yes.
Right. Well, I didn't ask about the questions. I just asked if you recall testifying before the grand jury on that day.
Boom.
I don't remember
That's where Yannetti is going to start shaking him up right here. He knows he's got him.
the date. I recall testifying before the grand jury.
Oh, if I suggested to you that it was April 26th of 2022, would you quarrel with that?
That was, no, did you say would I quarrel?
Yeah.
No, it was definitely around that time.
And at that grand jury presentation, Mr. Lally was there, correct?
Yes.
None of the defense team was there, correct?
No.
Karen Reed was not there, correct?
No.
And there was no judge there, correct?
No.
And April 26th was a...
Yannetti was setting the stage for the feds. There was no judge. Karen Reed wasn't there. The defense team wasn't there. It was the feds. That's what it was.
Approximately 3 months after January 29th of 2022?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that your memory about whether or not John and or Karen was intoxicated would have been better on April 26th of 2022 than it would be today?
Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, I'll see you in second. Joyce, feel free to stand up.
I'm going to move it on for time purposes, of course. All right, David.
I would say it's fair to say, yes, my memory would be better that day.
And on that day, you were asked by Mr. Lally, quote, did either of them, strike that. I'm going to go back to the previous sentence just to put it in context.
Yes.
The previous sentence was from Mr. Lally, obviously you've had social occasions with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed before, correct? And your answer was, oh, yes, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to let that one go.
My answer is yes. I had previous. I don't know if I said, oh, yes, but my answer was yes. Of course, I had previous relationships with them.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, sir.
I'm saying, of course, I had previous relationships with them.
And the question that I wanted to direct you to, just to put it in context, was did either of them, speaking about John and Karen, on this particular evening seem sort of overly intoxicated to you? Do you recall that question?
I don't recall the specific question, but if that's the question.
And your answer was no to that?
Yes, if that's my answer, then it was no.
In terms of whether you can confirm that that was the question and answer, if I showed you the transcript, would that refresh your memory?
Yes, of course it would.
This is 2103, lines 13 to 15 for counsel.
This guy's a dick.
And I didn't have permission, or I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Very defensive,
Having,
Mr. McCabe. Very, very defensive. And believe me, that very smart and great attorneys like Yannetti and Jackson consensus. And you keep in mind, Alan Jackson was a prosecutor for a very, very long time. So he knows the side of the prosecution. And they know this stuff. It's almost like a sixth sense that comes in. They know when they have a witness that's being untruthful, and they can dig and get the truth out. And you're going to see the truth come up pretty soon. It's going to come up.
reviewed that transcript. Did I get the question and answer correct?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, good point, Jerry.
Okay, just a couple more things about the waterfall. I wanted to ask you about Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, sir.
Yes.
They were both there that night while you were there, correct?
Yes, they both were there.
And they are both pretty big guys, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
Yes, they're good sized guys.
Did you see Brian Albert and Brian Higgins practicing fighting at the waterfall?
Practicing fighting?
Right. Did you see them kind of square up in a fighting stance to each
This guy's being a real dick already. Just to answer this question, let's see. Liz, I'm not a lawyer, but I just Googled. It said the short answer is you can't. Grand jury proceedings are confidential. They are very strict rules about their dissemination. Even if you had been charged, your attorney would only have had a right to see those transcripts of witnesses who testified at trial. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's keep on.
other?
I recall them grabbing each other. I don't recall them squaring up like they were fighting each other. No, they were playing a little grab ass with each other. I did see them grab each other. I don't recall a physical, hey, let's go, duke it out. I do not recall that.
Okay, so are you saying, taking you literally, that they grabbed each other's asses? Is that it?
No, I'm saying grab ass. It's a figure of speech.
Okay, but what they didn't grab each other. They were in a fighting stance, weren't they? Didn't they crouch down low with each other?
I'm telling you, I don't recall seeing them crouching in a fighting stance. I recall someone grabbing somebody. I don't remember who grabbed who. I just recall like a bear hug or something. I thought I recall them doing a bear hug.
All right, so you recall them, one of them getting behind the other one and kind of restraining them or grabbing them?
I think there was a bear hug, yeah. That's what's in my memory. I don't.
And you would agree with me that after closing time, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were two of the people who went back to 34 Fairview Road, the Albert home, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But before everyone left, before you left, it was announced around the table that everyone was welcome back at Brian Albert and Nicole Albert's house, correct?
Yes.
Karen Reed and John O'Keefe were both there when that invitation was announced, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that it was expected that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe would go to the Albert home that night, correct?
If they wanted to come, they were welcome. Yes.
And that plan would have been for them to go inside the Albert home, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what time you left the waterfall?
I left the waterfall after midnight, give or take 12:10, 12:15-ish. I don't know the exact specific time. Well, a little before 12:15, but definitely 12:10-ish, 12:15-ish in there.
And you
Yeah, they always stumble their times, and everybody always says it's like 12:10, 12:15. They try to generalize the time because they're trying to keep the time aspect out of this to pin them down to the time. You always notice that in all of their testimonies. Oh, I don't know. And then once the hard questions come, when he has the transcripts in front of him of all the text messages, when that comes out, his demeanor is going to change and he starts going into the I don't know.
one of the last to leave the waterfall?
Yes, as I mentioned,
They love 12:10.
Nicole Keesis and I walked out together from the waterfall.
Your wife, Jennifer McCabe, had walked out of the bar physically before you did, correct?
Yeah, that's all.
Yes, that's correct.
And you actually met her in the parking lot?
She was already in the vehicle in the parking lot, correct?
And then you got into the car to drive to the Albert's home, correct?
Oh, Mark.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So I'm going to ask you about the ride back to the Albert's home in a bit, but right now I want to skip to when you got there, okay?
Okay.
When you first got there, your wife parked your vehicle in the driveway, correct?
Yes.
It's coming
Which
up.
side of the driveway did she park your vehicle in?
As I mentioned yesterday, I don't recall if it was immediately on the left, meaning the left towards the lawn, or if she was in the.
And that's really funny. I find funny in all of this too is, as we've heard all this testimony, direct, cross, well, actually just especially on cross when they get answered all the tough questions. Notice every single witness in this trial so far? What is the famous words they love to use? I don't remember and I don't recall. They're all saying it. I'm telling you. And I'm telling you, the jury's just looking at all these people and shaking their heads like they're full of shit. I think the jury's got this nailed down already. I would say more than 50%. I would say closer to 75% of all the jurors are probably already locked up that Karen Reed is not guilty. I'm going to probably put that out there right now because I haven't seen anything. And I keep asking myself, I wake up every morning and I sit there and I go, when is the bombs going to drop from the Commonwealth? Like, where's the evidence here that's going to start pointing that Karen Reed did this? I don't see it. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I don't see anything here. I'm waiting. All I've seen is that the Alberts and the McCabes are in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. All right, let's
the next spot over. She pulled in. I don't remember exactly if it was here or one spot over, but she pulled in.
In the driveway at that time.
At least two. I don't recall if there was more than two.
So if there was at least two, those two would have been parked abutting the garage area. In other words, would they be? Let me rephrase. So there are 2 lanes in that driveway, correct?
My recollection.
Now this is where he's going to start getting a little nervous, and he's going to screw up here.
There's 2 lanes, but there is more space. I know when we go over and we've gone over, there's more space to kind of park 3 cars
Right?
to the right, correct?
Okay.
But we weren't to the right. We were either left or middle.
You were behind one vehicle, whichever lane you were in, or were you pulled right up to one of the garage entrances?
I don't recall if we pulled all the way in or not, but I don't remember.
So there were at least 2 vehicles in the driveway before you got there, correct?
In the driveway?
Yes.
Yes, there were cars in the driveway.
And when you parked in the driveway, fair to say that there was no black SUV at the Alberts home?
Are you referencing Karen's SUV? I don't know what color the Alberts cars were.
Oh,
Are you referencing their SUV?
Put it this way. Yes, I'm referencing Karen's SUV.
That was not at the home.
And that was not in the driveway, correct?
Karen's SUV was not in the driveway.
And it was not adjacent to the property or on the street anywhere that you could see?
Correct. It was not there.
But you say that there was a Jeep in the street at that time, correct?
There was a Jeep parked in front of the end of the driveway in front of the mailbox.
A Jeep?
And that Jeep belonged to Brian Higgins?
I found out it belonged to Brian Higgins. I didn't know it was his Jeep when I arrived.
And it had a plow on the front of it?
Yes, it did.
It was parked adjacent to the Alberts property on Fairview, facing up the hill toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that you arrived, that was the only vehicle that was parked on Fairview Street adjacent to the Albert property, correct?
Yes.
And your testimony is that that Jeep remained parked in front of the Albert house, just to the left of the driveway as you faced the house, until Brian Higgins finally left and drove it away at the end of the night, correct? That's
my recollection, was his Jeep was out in front of the mailbox.
With the court's permission, could we display Exhibit 66?
Okay.
Do you notice how Yannetti says when Brian Higgins got in his Jeep and drove it away, and he goes, no, it's just, my recollection is that it was just parked in front of the mailbox. Never said anything about driving it away. He wouldn't confirm that.
So, Mr. McCabe, I'm highlighting for the spotlight the front of the Alberts home. When I get to the point where the Jeep was parked, can you stop me? And you can adjust it right or left if I go too far.
Objection, Your Honor.
Can we have him use the laser pointer first and then?
Yeah, I was hoping I didn't have to. I don't have one. No.
You could, yeah, please.
Jeep was right there. From the edge of the driveway, it's right there. I believe it was a 2-door Jeep.
Okay, it looks like a part of the Jeep would have been blocking the driveway?
Nope. Where the mailbox is, the Jeep was right there.
Okay.
It was not blocking the driveway.
Microdots, by the way, that rendering, microdots.
Sure.
The mailbox that's spotlighted there, would that have been where the back of the Jeep was?
Yeah, the back would have been right in the vicinity of the edge of the driveway and the mailbox.
So it wasn't blocking the driveway at all when you saw it?
Right.
And it was facing to the left as we look at Exhibit 66, correct?
Facing, heading to the left of the house, correct.
We can have the lights back on.
Yeah, he needs another drink to stay alive. The DTs, right? Look at him.
And as you testified, that Jeep was there the whole night. Brian Higgins didn't go out to move it at any point, correct?
I never saw Brian Higgins go outside to move his Jeep.
About 5 minutes after you got to the Albert home that night, you saw a black SUV parked outside the home, correct?
Yes, again, I don't know the exact minutes, but give or take 4 or 5 minutes.
And when you saw that black SUV parked outside the Albert home, Higgins' Jeep was still there, correct?
Yes, to my recollection, the Jeep was still outside in front of the mailbox.
The black SUV was parked in front of Higgins' Jeep with the plow in the front, correct?
That's correct.
How
Just want to recognize this. First, let's say KC says, please hit the like button. I would appreciate it. We got about 613 people in here. Smash that like button. Let's get this out into the algorithm. I'm so close to hitting 20,000 subscribers. We're like at 19,735. Let's get some more new people over here to the LTL Media channel. That would be great. And then hopefully I can hit 20,000 by Monday. It'd be really nice on Tuesday when they start trial. When they resume trial, I'm at 20,000. It'd be really great to get that accomplishment. I want to recognize this too. Brenda, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. 25% of your donation will go towards Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I think I am at currently, what am I at? 45? 45 in the chat, 45 total. So 25% of that will get kicked back. So right now we are at 12. We're at $11. I'd love to get to 50 for Karen Reed tonight. That would be great. Let's play on, players.
far or close to that Jeep was the black SUV?
I don't recall the exact distance. Again, when I looked outside, I noticed my focus was on the black SUV,
I think it's a court
which
quality
looked
on
outside would have been in front of the front door.
With regard to the distance between the Jeep and the black SUV, was it greater or smaller than the distance between you and me right now?
Oh, it'd be smaller.
Um,
If I'm the end of if you're the end of the Jeep and I'm the end of the
Let's say that I'm the
Lexus,
rear end of the black SUV and you're the front end of the Jeep.
yeah, I'd say you'd be a little closer to me.
With the court's permission, may I walk closer to the witness so that he could give an estimate?
Sure.
And you can just stop me, sir.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, when I looked outside, I was focused.
Just recognize this. Virginia, thank you so much. Big super duper 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 chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let me see if I can do this. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Play through. Thank you so much for the big super duper duper dollar, $50 super chat. We're at $95 total. 25% of that will get kicked back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Thank you so much, Virginia. Let's keep playing through with Mr. McCabe.
Focused on the SUV. I wasn't focused on the Jeep or the truck. I don't know the exact distance. You could walk 3 more feet or 3 feet that way, but it was out in front of the house. That's all I can tell you.
You will agree with me that you've given conflicting information
Thank you so
about
much.
where the black
Look at
SUV
being here.
was when you
Thank
first
you.
saw it?
Listen,
If you tell me,
what you're going to get with me is loud and live. That's what I do here. I'm loud. I yell. I scream. I get angry. I call it like it is. I'm like the guy that you're going to talk to out on the street. You know what I mean? That's the perspective that you're going to get here. And that's why I love doing this, because it's just like normal people having a normal conversation. That's what we do. All right, let's keep playing on, players.
I gave conflicting information. You can show it to me. I don't recall. I've
No one
always said that the
recalls me.
SUV was in front of the house.
Right. And when you said in front of the house, you meant that as you look out the front door of the Albert residence, which on Exhibit 66 would have been the door to the left, that's the classic front door,
The classic front door looking at the house on the main part of the Colonial.
looking straight out from there, that's where the black SUV was positioned, correct?
In that vicinity, correct.
Right. It would have been sort of directly in front of you as you look out that front door, correct?
Like I said, in the vicinity of looking out the front door was the black SUV. If it was 3 feet this way or 3 feet this way or 3 feet that way, I don't know. It was just out in front of the house.
Right. And that was where it was when you first spotted it, according to your testimony today, correct?
Yes,
But you spoke to Michael Proctor during the afternoon of January 29th, did you not?
yes, I did.
That was the very day that these events occurred, correct?
Yes, it was.
You would agree with me that your memory of where that black SUV was when you first spotted it on January 29th would have been better on that very day than it would be today, correct?
Possibly, yes.
It's almost 2.5 years later.
2.5 years that have lived in my memory, yes.
But your memory does not get better over time, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
On January 29th of 2022, when you spoke to Michael Proctor, you told him that you saw a black SUV parked to the right of the residence as you look at the property from the street. Did you not?
I did not. Can you elaborate what you mean by to the right of the residence?
Well, I will just repeat the question. Did you tell Michael Proctor on January 29th of 2022 that you observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house?
What right? Looking at the house to the right or looking at the house to the left? When you say right, I don't know what you mean by right.
Is your memory exhausted as to what you told
Here we
Michael
go.
Proctor?
No, not at all.
So if your memory is not exhausted, would you agree with me that while you were at 34 Fairview, you told Michael Proctor that you observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house?
That could have been the second time I informed him of seeing the SUV.
Okay. If I suggested to you that that was the first time, according to what you told Michael Proctor, would you dispute that?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is your memory exhausted as to whether or not that was the first or second time, according to what you told Michael Proctor?
My memory is not exhausted.
Okay, so if your memory is not
Oh, I
exhausted,
did get.
do you deny telling Michael Proctor that you observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
I don't know. Second question.
All
I
right.
told him I saw an SUV and parked in front of the house. Then I saw an SUV move further up the road, which looking out of the house would be to the right of the house. So that would be when I saw the SUV to the right of the house, would be the second time I saw the SUV. I've always stated the SUV was in front of the house if looking out the front door.
Okay, so when you talked, so you deny telling Michael Proctor that when you first saw the SUV, by the way, sir, is this funny? I'm sorry.
This is
you're laughing.
not funny,
Yeah,
sir. Not at
great.
all. It's been 2 years of misery.
Well,
Okay.
You're smiling now, that's why I asked.
You keep repeating the same question.
Well, I'm trying to get an answer that you won't give me, sir. When you talked to Michael Proctor on January 29th of 2022, when you first observed the big dark SUV, you said to him it was parked to the right of the house.
Objection.
This is the last time on that question. Is that right?
That is not right. The SUV, the first time was in front of the house, in front of coming out the front door. The second time was it was to the right of the house.
All right.
We have to move on.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you did not say that, but you did say that you were making those observations from the front door, correct?
That's nerves right there. That sip of water is nerves. It's exactly what's going on here. That is nerves.
As I stated yesterday, I recall.
That's a yes or no question. I'm sorry.
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer it yes or no?
I can't. I said yesterday it's either I looked out the window and I looked out the front door. I don't remember which order.
Well, you told Michael Proctor that the first time you looked out.
V, thank you so much for becoming a rookie detective. You have access to all the members only content on my front homepage. Just scroll all the way down. You can get access to that. I try to drop as many members only videos as I can. A lot of it's been behind the scenes stuff that's going on here at the studio. So enjoy. Let's see, $5 to the total. And if someone can rank up the total here in the chat, that would be great. All right, let's keep playing on.
It was out the front door. Did you not?
I don't recall when I told Michael Proctor on April.
You don't recall. May I approach you on
Yes.
page 2 of Proctor's report, Counsel?
So next time, just show it to me.
Of course, I'm sorry.
He is shaking.
You read the first
That's nerves.
few sentences of
See
that
that?
second
That's
paragraph.
nerves.
Second paragraph.
So his body language went in. He's trying to brace himself now to not shake as much. That's nerves. So we're at 105 right now. 25% of that get back to Karen Reed's defense. I'd love to get to $50 total to her defense tonight. All right, let's keep going. And we're not even at the key stuff yet. That's coming up. He's got butt sweats for sure. Yeah. He's panicking. Now, see, this is processing now. This is, and I said this before when we were watching the trial. What's going on here is he's looking at statements and he's trying to remember the lies that he had, and he's trying to process now. Okay, so he knows the truth in his mind. He's trying to remember the lies. What did I say? What did I do? And he's processing that now. And what's happening is it's competing against each other because the truth wants to come out, but you have to keep covering with a lie. And what happens is once you lie and keep lying and keep lying, you can't cover with a lie. The truth will come out. So that's what's going on. He's trying to process, like, what did I say? What did I do? What can I say and do now? Watch. And I think he actually gets caught. The judge calls him out and says, like, what are you doing? Like, let's move on here.
Yes.
I know at one point, I think Deb goes like, what are you doing?
You had said that you don't remember what you told Michael Proctor. Did that report refresh your memory?
I'm not saying I don't remember what I told Michael Proctor.
Well, hold
I'm
on.
stating what I remember.
Hold on a second, sir. You just told this jury that you don't remember what you told Michael Proctor. Those are your words.
Yes, at that point I'm reading, I don't remember the exact wording, but I know what I told Michael Proctor.
All right. And you told Michael Proctor that you observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house. Did you not?
At some point in the conversation, yes, I told Michael Proctor that a big dark SUV moved to the right of the house.
Moved to the right of the house? Is that what you just said?
All right, let me rephrase. At some point, there was a big dark SUV parked in front of the right of the house. I physically didn't see it move, so I need to rephrase. I can't say move.
Right, but what I'm concentrating on now, sir, is not what your memory is today or what you testified to the jury today. I'm concentrating on what you told Michael Proctor that very day on January 29th, 2022.
Hot.
Okay? And you initially told him that it was parked to the right of the house, the big dark SUV, and that you made those observations from the front door. And then you stated you looked out the front window and
Objection, Your Honor.
observed the same big dark SUV had moved to the other side of the property.
So
Correct?
the objection sustained, you have to break that down, and I thought we moved on from this, Mr. Chairman.
No, we haven't gotten to the second part of the.
So bring the document, I'll see it side by side.
Ooh, it's hot. It is hot in that courtroom. All right, let's speed up for time purposes.
To point B, correct?
Yes, at some point.
And you estimated that it was 15 to 20 feet or so that the SUV moved along the property line, correct?
Yes, again, I don't know the exact distance,
Oh,
but
absolutely,
estimates.
Casey. Thanks for
And
being here.
you, at that point in time, you were asked to clarify what you had meant when you said that the vehicle was first on the right side of the property. Do you recall that testimony?
I do not.
Do you recall that Mr. Lally asked you, to the right would have been toward the driveway side of the property, and that you answered that's correct?
I don't remember the conversation. And again, to the right, looking at the house, or to the right, looking out of the house?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. To the right, looking at the house would be toward the driveway.
To the right, looking at the house would be toward the driveway, correct?
And
Welcome, Virginia. Thank you so much for your big super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you.
that's your testimony where the vehicle started out, correct? And then moved toward the flagpole the second time?
DB says that nobody would kill someone and throw the body in their front lawn. It's totally ridiculous. I think we have a non-Karen Reed supporter here. Maybe it's a McAlbert watching. They watch the shows. I mean, they called Julie McCabe called Trooper Buchnick Bukaki, and who came up with that name for Trooper Buchnick is Turtle Boy. So we know that she watches Turtle Boy, and they may be watching me. So hi, how are you? All right, let's keep playing on. Maybe it's Matt.
The vehicle started
Hey, Matt,
in front of the
how are
house
ya?
and moved towards the flagpole, correct? So looking out of the house, it moved towards the right.
Now, excuse me. You told Michael Proctor that initially it was parked closer to the driveway or the mailbox when you first saw it, correct?
Objection.
Objection sustained, we were moving off of this, Mr.
Okay, Mr. Ryan. Wherever it was when you first saw it, where was the Jeep in relation to that black SUV when you first laid eyes on the black SUV?
Again, I was focused on the black SUV. My recollection, the Jeep was still in the same spot, which we had pointed out earlier on the exhibit.
Correct? In terms of where it was facing, the black SUV was behind, I'm sorry, the Jeep was behind the black SUV.
Jeep would have been behind the black SUV, correct?
I'm going to tell you this. I live extremely close to the area in and around Canton. Okay, it's a fact. I think everybody knows that. Okay, everywhere I go, if I'm wearing a shirt like this, or I'm wearing an LTL Media shirt, or I'm wearing the Turtle Boy Free Karen Reed shirt, I have so many people that approach me out in public and say, "There's no effing way she did this." I mean, I think 100% of the people that I've ran into have said, "There's no effing way she did this." I mean, that's how the surrounding area feels about this. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's looking pretty bad here for the Commonwealth. Wendy and Terry, thank you so much for becoming a new member of the channel, Detective Insider. I believe the Detective Insider is a $10 level. I appreciate that. Let's add $10 to the total, and then 25% of that will be kicked back by the end of the show tonight. All right, let's keep playing through.
Wherever it was along that property line, you would agree with me that before the black SUV arrived outside the Albert home, you didn't notice any tire tracks in the snow on the street in front of the house, correct?
Before, yes, that's correct.
Before the black SUV arrived.
Correct.
And you saw the black SUV first or second. It was always facing toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And it was always facing in the same direction that you say that Higgins' Jeep was facing, correct?
Yes,
And that would mean that the passenger side of the black SUV was the closest side to the Albert home, correct?
yes,
And it was the closest side to you when you were first looking at it, correct?
yes.
And now your testimony today is you don't recall if the first time you looked at that black SUV, it was through the front door or if it was through a front window, correct?
Correct. I don't recall which one I looked out first. I know I looked out both of them at some point. I just don't recall which one was first.
Whichever one it was, when you first laid eyes on that black SUV, you did not see John O'Keefe in the passenger seat, correct?
That is correct.
How long a span of time was it between the first time you looked out and saw the black SUV and the second time?
Again, I don't have the exact time. I'm going to guess 3, 4, 5 minutes at most.
And what you did in between those 3, 4, 5 minutes was you went back to the table or near the table in the kitchen dining room area where everybody was congregated,
That's correct.
and you went back there to talk to people and socialize, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you came back to the front of the house and either went to the front window or the front door, and that's when you noticed that the black SUV had moved to the other side of the property, correct?
Yes, at that moment, it had moved to the right of the property.
It had driven forward, correct?
I did not see it drive, but it had moved, yes.
It had moved
So it had to
forward.
get there somehow, yes.
All right. It was now closer to the flagpole. And not from your vantage point looking out, but as you look at the property from the street, that would have been to the left, correct?
Yes.
And again, it was still facing toward Chapman.
Sarah, thank you so much for the 20 on Cash App. Let's add that over to the total. I appreciate that. Let's add it in the running total. And again, 25% will get kicked back all to Karen Reed's defense fund tonight. I'm going to read her chat. No message, but thank you. I appreciate it. And let's keep playing on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
In terms of how many times you saw the black SUV having moved outside the house, you would agree with me that you have contradicted yourself about how many times that it moved, correct?
No.
Yesterday and today, you testified that it had been in correct?
Yes. Three.
Right. And, you know, again, in May of 2024, yesterday and today, all 3 times it moved, it was moving further or farther up Fairview toward. In fact, you've testified now in May of 2024 that the 3rd time that you saw it, the black SUV was even past the fire hydrant.
That's the that was the feed that day.
Times you saw it, I should say, would have been better on January 29th than today, correct?
Again.
And in fact, when you were talking to Michael Proctor, you had just observed the black SUV just out.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Only saw the black SUV.
That's the feed. Sorry.
That's what it says on this paper. My recollection is always been, I saw the black SUV.
You just called it a keeper. Since you talked to Michael Proctor on January
Look at him smiling.
It's fair to say that you've had multiple conversations about this case with your family, correct?
Of course, I've talked about this case.
That includes,
Ah, God, the feed
My
was so
family?
bad
Yes.
that day.
Yes.
as well as,
Yes.
you've also, since you talked to Michael Proctor, have had multiple conversations about this case with your in-laws, correct?
Yes,
That also includes in-person conversations as well as phone calls and texts, correct?
that is correct.
And since you gave that statement to Michael Proctor, you've had multiple conversations specifically with Brian Albert, correct?
Yes, I've talked to Brian Albert.
That includes in-person phone calls and texts, correct?
That is correct.
Would you agree with me that in terms of the changes in your version of events from what you've testified during this trial to what is in Michael Proctor's report, you put the SUV farther down Fairview toward Chapman Street now, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Real quick, 499er coming in from Southern Mom. Thank you so much for your super duper chat. I appreciate it. Says these people sure do spend an odd amount of time looking out the window when they're supposed to be hanging out with their friends. Lots of lying. Yeah, I mean, Matt McCabe said what? You looked out the window 3 times? Who does that? Like, why are you constantly looking out the window when you have a house full of people inside? And I completely agree. So I think we're at 110 total tonight. Casey says, I think 110. So we'll add that 49. Yep, we're at 110. Thank you so much. 25% will get kicked back to Karen Reed's defense fund. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep playing on. Good observation, by the way, Southern Mom.
Your testimony during this trial puts the SUV past the fire hydrant almost toward the neighbor's house, correct?
That is correct.
But however many times you saw that black SUV, you'd agree with me, you never observed any damage to the rear of that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You never saw any damage to the rear right taillight, correct?
Correct.
You'll also agree with me that every time you saw that black SUV, the vehicle had its headlights on, correct?
I was looking
Guy.
as we talked about it moving
Hey,
up
Jerry?
the property. I was looking at the back. I could see the back of the SUV. The assumption is the headlights were on, but I wasn't looking at the headlights.
All right, well, that would have meant that the area in front of the vehicle was lit up, correct?
Yes, but like I said, it was further up the road.
Now, sometime after that black SUV first arrived, you noticed that there were tire tracks, I should say, in a V shape on the street in front of the Albert home, correct?
That's correct.
And those tire tracks were from the curb in front of 34 Fairview toward the neighbor's property across the street and then back toward the curb, correct?
Yes, he came out, waved out towards across the street and came back in.
All right. And the pattern of those tire tracks,
This is going to get interesting too, because they're going to get into the tire track patterns. And I find this interesting. You notice the tire tracks that are supposedly in snow, these squiggly line tire tracks now. You're looking across the lawn. We've gotten testimony that one of the witnesses said that the whole outside of the house was lit up like a Christmas tree. You can look to the lawn. You can look past the lawn. You can see these tire tracks out in front of the house. But what is the one thing that you supposedly don't see that's supposed to be there that Julie Nagel said? What's supposed to be there according to Julie Nagel? Let me know in the chat. I'll give it a second because we're a little bit on a delay. What's supposed to be there? And Matt doesn't see it. See if someone can. That's right. The body, the blob, the black blob. Remember? Yep, the blob. Yes. He doesn't say anything about it. So that squashes and throws Julie Nagel's testimony under the bus. All right, let's keep playing.
that you observed were consistent with the vehicle making a 3-point turn, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
The phantom
I don't know
blob.
if the vehicle made a 3-point turn. It could be consistent with because it was a wavy pattern. I've never looked at a
It's a wavy
tire
pattern.
tracks after I've done a 3-point turn to determine what they actually look like, but in and back out.
There was nothing about those tire tracks that ruled out a 3-point turn to you, correct?
No?
All right. You didn't see those tire tracks again until the black SUV arrived at the home, correct?
Yes, I didn't see them previous to the black SUV.
And Higgins' Jeep was already there before the black SUV arrived, correct?
Yes,
So
He didn't
Higgins' Jeep was already parked
Right.
and
He
stationary
didn't cause it.
when there were no tire tracks in that area, correct?
I didn't notice I parked my car. We parked in the driveway and I walked in the house. So I wasn't looking at the tire tracks.
That
So,
tells
but
you right there.
Higgins' Jeep was
Wasn't looking at the tire tracks. Didn't look across the lawn. Didn't see no body because you would have said, hey, there's a body. Let me pull this up real quick. Kay, thank you so much. Kay Willis, Realtor, thank you. She says, he or she says, I watched a video earlier when they had a police dog trainer. He said there was definitely dog bites on John's arm. He showed examples of the bites on training gear and they looked the same. I'm probably going to say this, Kay. You probably watched the video from my good friend, Melanie Little, attorney Melanie Little. She had an expert on her channel that has been training police dogs for, I think, over 30 years or close to 30 years. That was a great video. And that's probably where you saw that. Thank you so much for the 10. Let's add that to the total. And if you haven't gone over, please subscribe to attorney Melanie Little. She's fantastic and her channel's blowing up all over the place. I love it. And she's a great attorney. Great attorney. All right. And very good person. Very good person offline. I've always had very pleasant conversations with her offline. What do we got for a total? Let's add that up. Add it to the total, and then 25% will get kicked back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. We have raised already, my friends, in just over 3 weeks, about $650 plus. All right, let's keep playing.
It was already parked.
Right. You didn't see tire tracks at that point, is my point.
Yeah, well, I didn't see any.
And at the point that you saw those tire tracks, there were no other vehicles in the area along the Albert family property line on Fairview other than Higgins Street and the black SUV, correct?
That's my recollection, yes.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to where I had left off with regard to meeting your wife, Jennifer McCabe, in the car after leaving the waterfall. You recall that we sort of left off with you getting in the car and starting to drive home.
Yes.
Once you got inside the car, your wife ultimately called John O'Keefe along the ride home, correct?
John O'Keefe had texted my wife, and my wife had called him. He was asking where to. We think he was asking for the where to with the address. So she called him to tell him.
And you knew that he was asking that because the Bluetooth of the car was connected to her phone, correct?
I believe the Bluetooth was on. Again, I could hear his conversation.
Yeah.
My assumption is the Bluetooth was on.
Right. You could hear both sides of the conversation, correct?
I could hear John as well, yes.
Yeah, your wife and John, correct?
Well, yes, I was sitting next to my wife. I could hear her.
And you heard John tell your wife that he was planning to go to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
He had told your wife in your presence that he and
I can tell you this. I know to go to trial with Alan Jackson, it's a lot more than $500,000. That's the rumor that I've heard. So it's much more than that.
and Karen would meet your wife and you there, correct?
He said, we're on our way.
Right. And you knew, again, the plan was to go inside 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes, that was the plan.
You heard your wife tell John that 34 Fairview is off Chapman Street, correct?
Either I was also talking, so I don't know if my wife was repeating, but yes, we did say off of Chapman Street.
It could have been you, could have been your wife, but he was
Yes.
told it was off Chapman Street, right?
That's correct, yes.
And then your wife hung up with John, at least temporarily, but then John called back, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
He indicated he needed more specific directions to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And then you heard your wife, or maybe you participated in the conversation, I won't rule that out, but between the two of you, you did give him more specific directions, correct?
Yes, we did.
And either you or your wife, and you can correct me if you know if it's one or the other, but one of you told him to go down Chapman and take Fairview as if they were going to Bella's house, correct?
Yes, we had mentioned go down Chapman to Fairview, to you know where Bella lives, drive past Bella's street. The house will come up when you're left.
Right, and I believe you previously explained that Bella was a friend of John's niece, Kaylee, and also your daughter, Olivia, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So that was a good way to orient him as to where to go, correct?
Yes.
And once you did that, John O'Keefe never called back for any clarification, correct?
Yes, not to my recollection.
All right, and with regard to your state of mind, based on that conversation and the instructions that either you or your wife or both of you gave John, you certainly assumed that John and Karen would be arriving at Fairview coming from the Chapman Street direction, correct?
That was my assumption.
Okay.
As I stated yesterday, there's multiple ways to go, but that was my assumption.
And it was an educated assumption based on the conversation that you had, correct?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Okay.
Just show us Preston Chapman. It's not marked on
I'm going to hand the
Thank you.
document. I have handed you something. If you could take a look and tell the jury whether you recognize what that depicts.
Yes, this is a map showing Cedar Crest Road intersecting with Fairview Road On the opposite side shows Chapman Street intersecting with Fairview, as well as other streets in the,
Gonna screw up his positioning. Watch this.
it's called the Cedar Crest neighborhood, in the Cedar Crest neighborhood.
And realizing that you don't have a compass or a ruler, does it appear to be generally to scale in terms of where the roads are?
Yes,
And it appears to be a fair and accurate depiction of the layouts of particularly Cedar Crest.
Dylan, thank you for becoming a rookie detective. We'll round it up to 5. I know that's a $2 one. We'll round it up to 5, and we'll add that to our total tonight. And 25% will get kicked back to Karen Reed's defense. Where are we at with total? Does anybody have it? One of my mods? Drop the total in the chat. 125. Thank you.
Crest, Fairview, and Chapman Street?
yes.
Okay, I would offer that, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
There's a nervous water.
Exhibit 86. And Mr. McCabe, why don't we hand over the other one?
V, thank you so much for the 5 on Cash App. Oh, my voice cracked. Thanks for the 5 on Cash App. Let's add that to the total. The total. I think we're at 130 total right now. 25% kickback to Karen Reed. And let's see. We are at $32. I'd love to get to 50 tonight for Karen. It'd be awesome. All right, let's keep playing. Matt McCabe on the stand. This isn't even the good stuff yet. It's coming. How ironic.
May I display that to the jury, Your Honor?
The sirens. So ironic. All right, this is where Matt can get all messed up.
Remember that will be exhibit 88. Oh, thank you.
What is displayed on the screen, Mr. McCabe? Does that appear to be what I just showed you in exhibit 88?
Yes.
You see that there's a red bubble there. Does that have any meaning to you as you look at the map?
Yes, it'd be the location of 34 Fairview.
Okay. And as we look at the map, Cedar Crest is up the top and Chapman is down the bottom.
That is correct.
With regard to the directions that you gave, or you or your wife gave John O'Keefe, if they were coming as you directed them on Chapman Street, would they be taking a right onto Fairview or a left?
If they went the way that we mentioned, they'd be taking a left.
Okay, so in terms of looking at this map, they'd be traveling on Chapman Street really from the left to the right as you look at exhibit 88, correct?
Yes, left to right, correct.
And that would allow them to take a left down Fairview, heading towards Cedar Crest, correct?
That is correct.
And you would agree with me that that would put the driver's side closest to the Albert property if they just kept going straight all the way to Cedar Crest, correct?
Yes, the driver's side would have been.
Real quick. So AJ says, yes, Karen Reed has agreed to have a documentary crew follow her around outside of the court. And yes, her defense could cost $2 million plus by the end of trial. I heard, and the rumor was, for Alan Jackson, it's $6 million to go to trial. That's what I heard. I heard that's the rumor.
Closest to the property.
So you can turn the lights back on.
Amount of money.
That would mean, well, strike that. So you agree with me that your state of mind was that was the direction that they would go?
That's what I thought they would have, that's how I thought they would have come into the neighborhood, correct?
But you never saw the black SUV traveling in that direction or parked in that direction, correct?
That's correct.
That would mean that in order for the SUV to be facing in the other direction, one way would be for it to make a 3-point turn, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
So we're saying if they came down from Chapman and then spun around and facing back up towards Chapman, is what you're asking? Yes, at some point she would have had to turn around.
Or do a 3-point turn, correct?
She could do a 3-point turn, or she could just loop around at Cedar Crest and come back up. Either one.
Right.
See, Matt's trying to think he's smart now. He's trying to outsmart Yannetti, but he's going to get caught here. Oh, yeah, you can just go to secret. Yannetti knew he was going to say that. Watch this.
The 3-point turn would be consistent with what the V-shaped tire tracks that you saw when you looked out the front of Brian Albert's house, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
When you were interviewed by Michael Proctor on January 29th of 2022, you had not spoken with Ryan Yeager, correct?
No.
So it's fair to say you did not know what, if anything, Ryan Nagel had seen in terms of how or what direction the black SUV arrived in, correct?
Right.
Objection.
Sustained.
When you spoke to Michael Proctor on January 29th of 2022, the phone conversation that your wife had with John O'Keefe that you were either participating in or listening to, that was regarding the directions. That was fresh in your mind on January 29th, correct?
Yeah.
Those directions had just been given to John, the night before or really hours before, correct?
Yes.
So on January 29th, when you're talking to Michael Proctor, believing that John had driven down Chapman Street, you were trying to square in your own mind how the vehicle wound up in the other direction when you looked out the house, correct?
Objection.
Were you?
Can you just repeat that again?
Yeah.
I think I heard you. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta process this. What did you just say? I gotta process this. I gotta process this now. Can you repeat the question? Because I gotta see what if I'm gonna jive here with the story. That's what's going on here because he knows he's getting caught. He's getting caught now.
Great question. I'll see if I can make it any better.
Yeah.
You're talking with Michael Proctor on January 29th in the afternoon, correct?
Yes.
And he's asking you about the positioning of the black SUV, among other things, correct?
Yes.
Again, I'm just getting to your state of mind. Your state of mind was that you gave the direction, you or your wife gave the directions to John, and you're thinking he came down Chapman.
Yep.
But you never saw the vehicle in that direction. It was only in the other direction facing toward Chapman. Is that fair?
Yes.
And so you're naturally trying to square in your own mind, trying to make it make sense as to how that happened. Correct?
Objection.
Hot. You can answer that. Were you trying to square that in your own mind?
I wasn't trying to, I don't know if I was trying to square it. I just knew that for some reason her vehicle was facing Chapman.
Sure.
Hey, you asking?
I
I don't know what she did. I just know her vehicle was facing up Chapman.
and to you, that was the significance of the V-shaped tire tracks when you were talking about Proctor, right?
Objection.
Was it?
If I recall, I said there was a V shape.
That's what his mind just did. His mind did this. All right, let's pause for a second. We're at 140. I got to pull this up. Charlie, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And thank you for being a channel member. I love it. Thank you so much. We were at 140. We'll add another $5. Since you are nearby local, are there usually this many police and emergency sirens going on? I've been wondering about this the entire trial. Well, Dedham, very close to Boston, and it's the major hub right there that kind of runs right by the courthouse. So probably a lot of that traffic, because that is a main street, probably just runs up right through there, and it's closer to get that way to the hospital. So, yeah, there is always a lot of sirens. It's so ironic, though. The sirens just blow my mind every time I hear it. It's almost like John O'Keefe is watching over this trial, knowing that all of it, you notice it's always like when they're testifying, too, that he's like, you liars. You're all liars. It's crazy. All right, where are we at for a total? 145. 145 total. All right, let's keep playing here.
Tire tracks, and I believe the question was, could it be consistent with a 3-point turn? I said it could be. I didn't know if it was a 3-point turn. It could be because it was weird tracks. Again, I did not see the vehicle. I don't know if she pulled in the driveway and turned. I don't know if she went to Cedar Crest and turned. I don't know if she did a 3-point turn and turn. I have no idea.
Now he's backing away because his original statements aren't lining up what he's saying here and what he told Proctor. And now he's like, I don't know. I don't know anything. Now he's trying to back off his statements because he just got caught.
One last question on this 3-point turn. You offered the V-shaped tire tracks as an explanation for what could have happened, correct?
Objection.
Oh,
I had stated there was a V-shaped tire tracks. I didn't say it was a 3-point turn.
All right. Well, you'd agree with me in any case that if John and Karen entered from Cedar Crest and you saw them where you saw them, there'd be no need for a 3-point turn, correct?
So you're saying if she didn't come from Chapman, she came from the other side, Cedar Crest, there would be no need for a 3-point turn or any type of turn because she was already facing that way.
That's right. If she came from Cedar Crest, she's already in the very direction that you saw the black SUV when you looked out, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, your testimony during this trial is that you were looking straight out from the house to the street. And, again, I understand your qualification. You could have been 3 feet this way or 3 feet that way. But your memory is that the car was essentially right in front of you, give or take, the first time you saw it.
My memory is the car was right in front of the front door.
Yes. Okay. And you were looking straight at it, correct?
as I had stated earlier, the first time I looked out, I don't recall if I was looking straight out from the front door or if I was peeking out through the window, but it was, my sight would have it lined up in front of the front door. So if I looked out from the front door, then it would have been, yes, straight in front of me.
And you would agree with me that when you were looking at the vehicle from wherever you were looking at it, you were looking straight over the front lawn, correct?
I would have been looking over the lawn, correct?
And
Again, I was focused on the
tire
vehicle.
tracks were far.
Hold on, Mr.
Sorry.
Netti.
I said I was focused on the vehicle. I was focused.
I didn't know that he was not done with his answer.
My fault.
We only can have one person speaking at a time. The court reporter can't be expected to have two different people at the same time. So please be cautious. The lawyer needs to be cautious of that.
I will try, Your Honor. Did you get your full answer out, sir?
I did.
Okay. You would agree with me that the V-shaped tire tracks were farther away from you than the front lawn?
Yes, they were on the road.
And if you were able to clearly
Now
see,
he's trying to. This is what he wanted to go through. You always notice defense attorneys will ask questions. So, like, let's talk about the black blob, right? So Yannetti talked about that 20 minutes ago. Okay. Then he deferred and went to something else, part of the testimony about these V-shaped, because he's trying to paint a story here. He's trying to say, if you specifically can say in detail what these V-shaped tire tracks look like, essentially, how did you not see this black blob, supposedly supposed to be John's body on the lawn, which Julie Nagel, 5 foot, 6 foot blob? That's where he's going with this now. And it's going to debunk all of this crap. I'm going to pull this up. Debbie Rose, thank you for becoming a new member of the channel. It's a Detective Insider. That's a $5. We'll add that up. I think we're at $150, and 25% will get kicked back to Karen Reed's defense fund tonight. All right, let's keep playing.
see those V-shaped tire tracks, you certainly were able to clearly see the Albert's front lawn, correct?
There you go.
As I mentioned, I was looking over the lawn, but I'm assuming the lawn was
Just said
somehow
it.
in my visibility.
Boom. I was looking over the lawn. Yannetti got it. That's what he wanted to get him. So if you're looking at the lawn and you're looking over, you can't just look over the lawn and say, oh, there's tire tracks over there. It's going to be in your line of sight. Like I'm looking here, right? I'm looking at my camera. I can see behind my camera because my peripheral vision or my line of sight, I can see off to the side, my peripheral, I can see my light here, my window. I can't just block that out and say, oh, I'm going to look around this light and go, there's a wall there. Doesn't happen. So he got it. That's what he wanted to say. And he's going to say, well, you looked at the lawn, you didn't see a body there.
I wasn't focusing on the lawn.
Okay.
And then that smokes his testimony and it smokes Julie Nagel's testimony.
Try that question again and see if I can get a yes
Here
or
we
no
go.
answer. If you were able to clearly see the V-shaped tire tracks, you were certainly able to clearly see the Albert's front lawn, correct?
If I looked at it, it's a confusing question. As I said, I was
Not
focused
confusing.
on the road. I wasn't looking at the lawn.
But let me be clear. I'm not asking you if you looked at it. I asked if you were able to clearly see it.
I would be able to, yes.
Go.
And when you looked out at that black SUV, and saw the V-shaped tire tracks, you did not see a 6'2" man lying on the front lawn, correct?
No, I did not.
Boom.
And at no point in time, whenever you looked at that black SUV, did you see John O'Keefe inside the vehicle, correct?
No, I did not see John in the vehicle.
Boom.
At no point in time did you hear any yelling outside 34 Fairview, correct?
No, I did not.
At no point in time did you hear any scream of pain outside 34 Fairview, correct?
No, I didn't.
At no point in time did you ever hear any crash noises outside 34 Fairview.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No,
Boom.
And last question on this point, at no point did you hear any noises at all outside 34 Fairview that attracted your attention?
Boom.
no, there's music playing in the house, so I didn't hear anything.
There you go. That just swabbed his whole testimony. He got it.
After being at the Albert home for a period of time early that morning,
Now he knows.
you left the home approximately 1:40 a.m. or so,
Yeah, give or take 140, 145. I don't know the exact time.
Give or take.
and you walked out with your wife, Jennifer McCabe, and two of Brian Jr.'s friends, correct?
So now
Yes,
what's going to happen is Yannetti's going to go to when they get inside the car. And this is where supposedly Julie Nagel saw the body on the front, the black blob on the front lawn, but doesn't say anything. And he's going to go, did you have earbuds in? Did you not hear any conversation?
Brian's two friends were joining Jennifer and I. We were driving them home.
And whether you knew their names or not that night, you subsequently learned their names to be Sarah Levinson and Julie Nagel.
That's correct.
And you all came out of the house together, correct?
Yeah, I don't recall who was where when we walked to the car, but we all left the house at the same time.
And directly in front of all of you was the front lawn, correct?
He was trying to group all those people together and said, if you came out all together, the front lawn is there. Where is this black blob that everybody saw? It wasn't there because it didn't happen.
If I was to walk straight out the front door, yes, the front lawn's in front of me.
And when you were walking out, the black SUV was gone, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you first came out of the house facing that front lawn, you didn't see a black baseball cap, correct?
That's correct.
Or a black sneaker, correct?
That's correct.
Or 45 pieces of red plastic tail light, correct?
That's correct.
Or even one, correct?
That's correct.
And once again, you didn't see a 6'2" man lying on the front lawn, correct?
No, I wish I did, but I didn't.
Why would you
As you
wish
were
you
walking
did?
out with your wife and these two other women, none of them yelled that they saw anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And then you all piled into the vehicle, which was in the driveway, correct?
Yes.
You and your wife got into the driver's seat and the passenger seat, correct?
Yes, I sat in the driver's seat. My wife was in the passenger seat. I had to brush off the car, but that's where we sat.
And the other two women who were friends with Brian Jr. got into the second row passenger seat, correct?
Yes.
And I believe your testimony is you don't know who was where within that, but they did get in there.
Yes, they were behind us. I don't know who sat in what seat.
Once you got inside the vehicle, is that when you realized that you had left something back into the house?
I don't recall leaving something in the house.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall leaving something in the house. I don't. If I did, I did. I don't recall leaving something in the house.
You don't recall going back into the house?
No, I don't recall going back in the house.
If you went back into the house, the front lawn would have been directly in front of you from the driveway, correct?
The lawn would have been.
This Monday coming up is not Memorial Day. That's the following weekend. It's a court holiday, I think. I think that's what they said. Some kind of court holiday. I don't know. But no, Memorial Day is next weekend. It's not Monday coming up. That's the following Monday. All right, let's keep playing.
To my left, and I would have went up the walkway to the house.
Okay, well, that's my next question. When you went up the walkway, the front lawn would have been to your left, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And then coming out, you would have had the same view that you'd had the first time, correct?
Ah, there you go. There you
Yes, I
go.
would have come back out the same way down the steps to the left.
Thank you, Danny.
And without going through all the various items that I asked you about in terms of not seeing on the front lawn, the speaker, the cap, the tail light, et cetera, you didn't see any of that stuff at any point the second time, correct?
Correct. I did not see anything.
Okay, so now you're finally back in your vehicle and you are backing out of the driveway,
Here
correct?
goes the Julie Nagel.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that to get to strike that. Is it fair to say that to drop the women off, your plan was to head toward Chapman Street?
Yes, that's what we did.
Which would mean that as you back out of the driveway, the rear end of your car would have been facing towards Cedar Crest.
Correct.
And then you would straighten out, and now you've got a straight shot up toward Chapman Street, correct?
Yes.
And it would also mean that you drove the length of the Albert's property, correct?
Yes.
While you did that, sir, Julie Nagel never said, "What was that?" Did she?
I did not hear Julie say that.
There you go.
She never said she had seen a black object,
There
correct?
you go.
I did not hear her say that.
She never said that she saw a black blob,
There you
correct?
go.
I did not hear her say that.
And she didn't say that the black blob that she supposedly saw was 5 or 6 feet in length,
There you
correct?
go.
Again, I did not hear her say it.
And she never said that she might have seen a person, correct?
I did not hear her. You talk about in the car?
Correct.
Yeah, I did not hear her say it in the car.
And
Yeah, you're driving out and you see a person or something, a large object on the lawn, like Julie Nagel said that she saw. Why would you not say anything to anybody in the car? Oh my God, stop. What is that? Hey, did you see that? Go back up. She didn't say any of that. So it's a lie. It's a lie.
you were right there driving, correct?
I was driving, obviously focused on the road. The windshield wipers, it was snowing pretty heavily.
You didn't have earplugs in.
I didn't, but they were all talking in the car.
You didn't have AirPods in.
No, I didn't.
Certainly not the noise cancellation AirPods, correct?
Correct. I did not have earplugs.
And you never stopped a car because you never heard Julie Nagel say anything about anybody being in trouble, correct?
I did not hear her say it.
Okay. You woke up the next morning, as you said, to screaming, correct?
Yes.
Oh, this is where
The screaming was so loud that you thought that the person screaming was actually in your bedroom, correct?
That is correct.
That was, and it startled you, fair to say?
Yes, it did.
And then ultimately, you learned that Karen Reed ended up in your driveway, correct?
Yes,
You could hear her screaming outside, correct?
I could hear her outside, correct.
She was hysterical,
She was screaming, Jen. She just kept repeating Jen.
in a hysterical manner.
Yeah, Jen, Jen, yes.
And she was screaming so loud that
Jen! I gotta get that soundbite. Jen! I'll have to clip that. Yeah, you know, Sunny Spirit dropped in and said she thinks that she's factually guilty. Sunny, do us a favor. Just let us know in the chat. You know, we have a good chat here. We like to listen to all sides and opinions in this case. Let us know. What is the one thing that sticks for you that says Karen Reed is, you said, factually guilty? Give us just one. Just give us one of your thoughts. One point that you think she's factually guilty. And I got to pull this up from Matt. Matt says, yo, Matt, thanks for the 1999er super chat. I appreciate the support. Says, love your coverage. I'm watching and listening. I really want to hear what is about to come up. I still can't rack my brain about and cannot simply read simple text on paper with a bright courtroom, but can make out tire tracks in the dock. That's a great point, Matt. Yeah, that's a really great point. I think that was a way to try to get away from this. I mean, dude, you're an IT guy. You probably look at stuff like this all the time. And I'm going to tell you one thing. You didn't do a good job with guiding your wife in deleting these text messages. So, or, all right, let's keep going.
she was in danger of waking up the whole neighborhood, correct?
Thanks for
She was loud, correct.
And other than screaming Jen, Jen in that hysterical tone, you really couldn't make out her words a lot of the time, correct?
Not when she was outside my house, no.
Skipping ahead to when you went back to Fairview that morning, it's fair to say that when you went, did you say that you went inside Fairview at maybe around 7 a.m.? Is that a good estimate?
Yeah, I don't know the exact time, but it would say give or take, could be a little before, a little after, but somewhere in that vicinity.
And I believe you testified that the only people inside that you saw there were your wife, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert. In addition to Officer.
At that moment, that's who I recall seeing there.
Okay, so there were.
Yes. KC, my girlfriend. Next week will be her birthday. Happy birthday. May says happy birthday and enjoy the extra long weekend. All right, let's keep playing Matty Matt.
And you didn't know where Brian Jr. was, whether he was sleeping, but you didn't see him.
I don't recall seeing him at that moment, no.
Okay. And Officer Lank was the only police official that you saw inside, correct?
At that moment, correct.
Okay. Now, in the days after January 29th,
Yeah, Kyle.
you participated in a group text exchange.
There it comes. Did you see that body language? Here comes the real tough questions. Wow. If looks could kill. Let's go back here.
Nicole Albert, correct?
Oh, yes.
Watch this.
I'd like to ask you some questions about that group text chat, if I might.
Sure.
Bang, here it comes.
You would agree with me that on February 1st of 2022, that was 3 days after John O'Keefe passed away, correct?
Yes.
And at some point on February 1st of 2022, you were physically either at or near the Albert home at 34 Fairview in Canton, correct?
I could have been. I don't recall if I was there.
You recall
Well, Yanetti's like, well, I'm going to help you and I'm going to show you. Ready? Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is. KS says, this is so glorious. This is the moment. This is so good. And he is shitting his pants. Here we go. David Yanni is going to guide him right now to remember.
watching what investigators were doing in the neighborhood on February 1st?
I do not. If you could show it to me, I could maybe reflect my memory. I do not recall that specific day.
You don't recall monitoring what troopers were doing?
I was not monitoring anything that the troopers were doing. If I had driven down the street, dropping someone off, picking somebody up, and saw the troopers, then I saw the troopers. I was not monitoring anything.
Directing your attention to 1:34 p.m. and 27 seconds.
Uh-oh.
You texted your wife, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert, quote, troopers back out front, but in front of Asian house. Did you not?
If I texted that, you could show it to me.
May I put them on?
Yes.
Patsy says this part is so good.
02150.
No, show it to him.
Now this is nerves now. This whole thing with the arm coming up. This is nerves. You don't want that paper. Don't give it to me. I don't want the paper. Because he knows shit's about to go down. Ready? Watch this. Oh.
Gotcha.
Show it to Mr. Hill, and don't reference what it is.
I think this is my first try.
Yanetti, that's great. He knows he's got him right now. Look at Yanetti smile.
Thank you.
I'm showing you a document, sir, and if you look up or look at it.
So this is time to do this. I need more time to process it. How am I going to react and how am I going to explain all of this? This is what's going on right now. And then he's going to be like, oh, I need a light. I can't read it. Here we go.
I don't use glasses, but I can't see this.
I don't know. I can't.
So maybe I need glasses. I'm making it out. I got it. Is it light?
In all seriousness, yes, Kyle, all donations have been going, 25% of them have been getting kicked back to Karen Reed. You can go right to the defense page, and I will drop the link right now. You can see all of the donations that I have put through. Look at recent donations on that page, and it will say LTL chat raiser, and then it gives a date. So every time I drop money on that site, I date it, show receipts, and it's transparent. Actually, I was out at court on Friday, and the Reeds, actually, I walked by them, Mr. and Mrs. Reed, and they thanked me for all of the money that we've been raising over here and kicking it back to Karen Reed's defense fund. So that was a precious moment. It's something to cherish that they take note of that. And they said, thank you. And I thought that was great. So, yep, I've been kicking back donations. All right, let's keep playing on here.
No, he says he doesn't.
No, it's not. It's just dark, but I got it. Go up front.
Can you see it? No, I don't want to see those texts.
What the hell?
Now I'm blind. What the hell?
If you're struggling,
I'm reading mine, right? The middle one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
all your time, the time.
Yep, I got it. Yep, I see it.
Yep. Now I've
Tony, just wrap
Yes.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me do this real quick. Kyle, all my links are right here on my link tree. You could pick one if you want to donate. I would appreciate it. All right. Lizard, thank you so much. Maddie looking like Travolta in hairspray. That's great. Let's add $2. Let's add $2. Let's add $2 to the total. I think we're at 152 right now. That's great, Lizard. That's great. I love that. All right. All right. Let's keep going here. Here it comes. That's nerves right there. That's nerves.
Having
Man.
reviewed that document, is your memory refreshed?
I see that I texted what you said I texted. The troopers were outside of the house. Yes.
Right, that's my question. This is a page that contains the group text that you had with Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert, correct?
Yes.
And in terms of the question that I asked you, you now acknowledge that you testified troopers back out front, but in front of Asian house, correct?
Uh-oh.
That's correct.
Mr. McCabe, what is an Asian house?
Yeah.
The next door neighbors to the Alberts were Asian.
Now, I heard a rumor, and I'm not sure, but a source told me that I think one or at least two of the jurors could be Asian. I think Jess Machado actually might have wrote about that in one of her tweets. It was either one or two people in the on the jury were Asian. So I don't think this is going to play too well with them, to be honest with you.
So you mean that a family of Asian origin lived next door?
Yes.
They were the next door neighbors to your brother-in-law and sister-in-law?
Correct. They lived, if you come out of Fairview, they lived to the right of the Alberts.
Oh,
And
yes.
did you know
confirmed.
their last name was the Chungs?
I had no idea that I've never met them. I don't know their last names. I just knew it was an Asian family next door.
Yeah, I mean, this is Simply Bell says, yeah, casual racism. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. And I just let everybody know, I do not condone any things like this on my channel. We don't condone that here on LTL Media. And it's pretty casual racism. Why would you say that? Pretty disgusting stuff. And I called that out on the day of testimony as well, too. So we don't condone anything like that here on LTL Media. All right, let's keep playing on. We welcome all walks of life here. Believe me, we welcome everybody here. I want everybody to subscribe to LTL Media. Believe me. All right, let's keep playing.
And you didn't feel the need to ask their names or try to call them by their names.
Yeah, that was nice.
Objection.
Yeah, that was a nice May. We had a nice moment when she came by and she said hi to me. Said hi, Brian. It was nice to see her. Haven't been out there in a while, and that was really great. And it was such a powerhouse day on Friday. And I'm sure that they all felt great when they left court on Friday. So if anybody doesn't know, I did the split day on Friday. I went out, did a live out in front of the courtroom, got to see the Reeds, saw Karen walk into court. Then I left and came back and streamed the trial for the rest of the day. And I enjoy doing that because I get to get kind of both worlds, best of both worlds when I can do that. So, all right, let's keep playing on. We got a while to go here.
Sustained. You know what, Ms. Giannetti, let's come to sidebar, please.
All right, we're going to speed up. Sip that water, Maddie.
Yeah.
House, Brian, collect the document.
So
Nobody asked you to clarify which house you were talking about.
All right, we'll go back up here. Sidebar Bev, yeah. If anybody's interested in any LTL merch, I have shirts available. I'll drop the link. And I have a sidebar shirt if anybody wants to order one. Great. Yeah, he's not smiling so much now. Thank you, KS.
When you did tell the group chat about the troopers being at that house, nobody asked you to clarify which house you were talking about, correct?
objection.
I'll allow that. Did anyone ask you to clarify?
Nobody asked me to clarify that I recall.
In fact, Brian Albert responded with just a question right now.
Uh-oh.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I think that was on the screen you just showed me.
And you responded yes, correct?
Did I get to see all the text or no?
Now he's trying to delay because he wants to look at it again and process it.
And with the court's permission,
Yes.
I'm going to give you the previous page in case you need it.
Just give it to him. Thank you.
I'll just give you one, and if you need the other, just let me know.
No problem. Thank you.
And again, just look at it silently to yourself and look up. When you're done.
Brian Koberger.
So am I to assume
BK.
what you said, Brian Albert said right now?
In the
Yeah,
Idaho.
would you like to see that?
So would that be the last one and then this is the next one?
What you,
I'm just making sure.
I understand, I appreciate that. You tell me.
Okay.
If with the court's permission.
Sure.
Thank you.
This is so good. This is so good right here.
That's what I was just looking for.
I may collect the document.
Ah, Rogue, that's
I
great.
didn't read the rest of it.
No, take your time, please.
I love it. He's trying to process now. So how can I straighten this out? How can I get this off my back? That's what he's thinking right now because it's in writing and this is a text. You know, you're not gonna be able to get away from a text. And he's like, how the hell did they get this? That's the feds. That's the feds, baby. Renee, thank you so much for the 10 on Buy Me a Coffee. Let's add that to the total. I think we're at 182. And we just had Kyle come through, becoming a rookie detective. So we'll add another 5 as well. So we got 10. We got 15 to add to the total. All right, let's keep playing through.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
Uh-oh.
You would agree with me that after you told
Thank you, Kyle.
the group in this group text that the troopers were back out front, in front of that house, Brian Albert's response was, right now?
Yes.
And then you
Lucy in
said
the
yes,
house. Lucy,
correct?
when are you going to come on my show? You go on everybody else's show, and every time I contact you, we can never work out a time. You got to get over here and talk sometime on this show. We need to do a show together. Come on. But nice to see you. I hope you're well. I know you periodically pop in, but let's do something here soon. I want to hear your insight. You're very good at all this. You're very, very good at all this. I thought you changed your mind. I didn't change my mind. I reach out to you all the time, and then you go silent on me. But let's do a show soon. I got to get you up here and get your perspective on all of this. Let's see. I had a Cash App come through. Let's call that out and get that to the total. And again, 25% gets kicked back to the Reed Fund. If you're not following Sleuthy on Twitter, on Twitter or X, you got to go over and follow her. Sleuthy, put your handle inside the chat. Let's get some subscribers over to you. Cash App from Heidi. Thank you so much. $10 super chat, Cash App from Heidi. Let's add that to the total. Matt coming through with a $4.99er. Said, loving this. Here is another. Keep going. Add another 5. And Donna coming through with 3. Oh, they're coming in. They're pouring in. Donna, thank you so much for the 3. Did we get caught up? Is my moderators caught up? Thanks for being here, Matt. I appreciate it. All right, 190 total. 25% of it gets kicked back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund, and we have raised pretty close to $700 in the last 3 weeks, and I appreciate that. All right, let's keep playing.
Yes.
Matt, try to win.
And then Brian Albert replied, okay, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. As of the reading.
Okay. Is that how he replied?
That's what it just said, yes.
All right. Now, at that point, you texted the group that you were trying to get a picture of what you were seeing, correct?
I didn't see that on the text.
Boom.
And you don't deny that you said that in the text,
Can you
correct?
show me the text, please?
Oh, sure.
I'm
Oh,
going to
did
show
you say
you.
you didn't see it in the
I didn't see that,
I'm
no.
sorry. I think that's probably because I didn't give it to you. May I look?
Yes.
So Matt's going to try to process here. How am I going to explain this? And then it's going to get deeper and deeper. Oh, that's nerves. Oh my God. That is nerves. That's nervous Nelly kicking in. Oh my God. He is squirming.
Oh,
Yes,
needs
doctor.
Madam Court Reporter.
I think
Mr.
I
Clerk.
went
Oh, okay.
I did. Speed it
Thank
up.
you very much. All right, much better.
Oh, he's all over the place. The hand, you do this, you rub your neck, all that stuff. That is nerve.
I got it now.
Is that for me?
I went too far. I apologize.
Having reviewed that, do you acknowledge that you texted the group that you were trying to get a picture of what you were seeing?
Yes, I said I was going to try to take a photo.
You agree with me that you were watching what was going on, correct, on February 1st?
No, I just happened to be driving through the neighborhood at that moment.
So you happen to be driving through, and then you texted the group to tell them what you saw, correct?
Here we go.
Yes,
And then
Here
you
it comes.
didn't just keep driving up the road and leave the area, did you?
I think I did.
Well,
Unless you tell me I went back, I think I did. I said I was going to try to take a picture.
right, well, that's my point.
Yeah.
You weren't, just having seen the troopers back out there at that house, in your mind, you still weren't done, correct?
I was going to take a picture to show them, oh, the troopers are outside your house.
Right, so in answer to my question, you weren't done with that scene, correct?
I think I was, because I don't know if I took a picture.
Sandra, thank you so much for the membership upgrade to Crime Enthusiast. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for the huge support. May coming through with a $10 super sticker. Let's add that $10 to the total. I think we're at 200 right now. 200 tonight. Thank you. 25% of all donations will kick back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. What I do after the show is I take a screenshot, post the receipts on my LTL Media Facebook page and also on my YouTube community page. And then for full transparency, you can go right to Karen's Defense Fund website via Alan Jackson, and you can see on there, and I will put LTL Media chat raiser, and then put the date. I'll put the date up there and give the kickback, and we put the total at the end of the night. So it is a good stop on the video. All right, let's keep rolling through.
Well, I think I went through. I mentioned I was going to try to take a picture. I don't know if I took a picture or not.
You didn't intend to be done at that point, correct?
I didn't intend to be done.
Right, because you wanted to take a picture of what was going on.
I was going to take a picture to show them that troopers were outside in front of the
I
house.
wanted to continue to monitor what was going on. Did you not?
I was not monitoring what was going on. I just happened to drive by at that moment.
May we be seen sidebar?
Okay.
All right, we're going to speed up for time, obviously. They're going to go through the break. I'm going to come back right about here.
All right, Ms. Giannetti.
Thank you, Ron.
One of my sources told me that we're inside the courtroom, said that he was shaking like a leaf the entire time, and you could see it. And the dynamic inside the courtroom is a lot different because that courtroom is small, so you're pretty close to everybody, and you can see everything that's going on. And it's so much different when you're inside the courtroom, from what I've been told. Let's see. Suthi says nit is a good word for him. I bet he was in so much trouble with Jen today. I bet she yells at him all day. I bet he cleans the house and cooks meals in a ruffled apron. I love it. $4.99 from Michelle came in. Let's add that to the total. I think we're at 205. She says, can't wait to hear what surprise text they have for Jen on Tuesday. Oh my God. It's going to be bedlam on Tuesday. I can't wait. All right, let's keep playing.
Let's make it that's just a little bit of a different way to hopefully make it easier on you and me and the jury. I'd like to hand you, with the court's permission, the 4 pages that you've already reviewed, just to have you identify them.
Sure.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Dun, dun, dun.
I'd just like you to take a look at them and just confirm that's what you've already seen before we took the break.
All right, thank you on the microphone. I saw something. I saw a tweet out there, and I can't confirm it because I didn't really quite. I didn't see it, but this is his phone now. Someone said that it looked like he was recording, and he hit the. He was recording and then turned the recording off when he handed the paper back to Yannetti. But I couldn't see it. I do see him hit a button twice, but I see his flashlight go off, and then he was clearing something else. But it didn't look like. It looks like when you're trying to record something on a screen, and that was just my observation. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You can see it when he does it in slow motion. Oh, interesting. Because I did see that. He looks like he's recording there. See? It's like, I gotta go over this. He's trying to process now. Now watch when he gives it back. The nerves really kick in.
Yes, these are the ones you showed me earlier.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, pleasure.
Yes.
Watch
Having
again, go-
reviewed those, sir, does
right
this
there,
appear to be an accurate?
That's what was pointed out. That part right there where he clicked, but I don't know. I don't know if he was recording. It'd be pretty bad if he did that. He got caught doing that. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. All right, let's keep playing. Not
Transcription
he's not in a lot of trouble anyway.
of the sequence and the content of the group text chat within that time frame?
Yes.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
All right. The only concern I have is I don't want to give the jury something they need a flashlight to read.
Well, my next.
So can I see it?
Of course.
Why don't I see counsel?
All right, sidebar again. We're going to speed up, obviously, for time purposes. Oh, man, this is where it's going to get really ugly. This is not going to be good for Matt. Here we go.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn my hat around.
Mr. Bates, if you would display the first page, 21 and 50.
Oh, let's get, here it comes.
We,
Yeah, it is a little
the
weird, isn't it?
distance vision. Are you able to read what's on the screen?
I don't know why it's on blue. This is, can I have them in front of me
Can
while
I have
you're
that? Thank
displaying
you.
them?
Yes.
Please? Thank
Now, I'm going to ask the chat. Wait, hang
you
on.
very much.
Where do you think this extraction came from? Let me know in the chat. Who do you think got this extraction to show? Let me know in the chat.
And feel free to use the flashlight there.
Yes, thank you.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, that's much better.
There you
Yes,
go.
now we can all see it. With regard to your initial text exchange that we talked about. can you
Oh, yeah.
confirm
Ed.
What you texted at 1:34 and 27 seconds in the afternoon of February 1st, 2022?
Yes. Do you want me? Oh, Coop is back up.
Real quick, $20 Venmo from Katie. Thank you so much, Katie. The $20 Venmo. I appreciate that. Says willing to bet someone has Snapchat video showing John in the house that night. Free Karen Reed and keep up the great work, Brian. It's funny that you said that. And we talked about this on one of my shows, I think a night or two ago, and we did kind of an Easter egg. And hang on, let me get my book real quick. I wrote down Easter eggs that the defense has been dropping. And they've been dropping a lot of them. And hopefully I can find the page here. Let's see. Where's my Easter eggs? Easter. I got screenshots, Snapchat, Life 360, text messages, third-party apps, Chloe, Higgins's Jeep, the Advantage Boys, the federal grand jury moments and testimony. We now see these extractions, the phone calls. They've talked a lot about metadata and also talked a lot about Colin Albert's knuckles. So those were some of my Easter eggs that they've been dropping. I'm going to tell you, they got probably a lot of stuff on Snapchat because we've heard a lot about that. And specifically, Katie McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert and Katie McLaughlin, they talked about Snapchat, and they talked about Snapchat between Allie and Colin. And I'm telling you, and we found out that they have a big group chat, I believe, on Snapchat as well. All the cousins. I'm going to tell you, they got all of that, and they're going to show it. You don't even, I'm telling you, if the common, I've said this before. I think when this all started, they obviously needed to nail Karen because of what happened inside the house, and John was killed. So they needed a scapegoat. They threw it on Karen. They upgraded charges to murder. So what they did is they had manslaughter first, vehicular manslaughter, and they thought she would probably cop a plea. But she was smart and went out and got a great attorney, David Unetti. David Unetti guided her, and then what was it? The next day, they upgraded her charge of second-degree murder. Tried to put the pressure on her. Take a plea. She's not going to do that. Hires Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson looks at all the evidence. Bang, we have a defense case because you didn't do this. And I think the Commonwealth underestimated the power of David Unetti and Alan Jackson and Liz Little. Let's put her in the conversation as well. She's on Karen's team. She's been doing a great job. But I think the Commonwealth underestimated these three powerhouse attorneys. And then you started seeing the display of how good they are during the hearings. And I think this shook up Lally. Lally doesn't want any part of this. This is Morsi pushing this. Because once this blows up and shows all the corruption, they're going to be in a world of hurt. A world of hurt. And they underestimated. And I'm telling you, you haven't even seen anything yet. Wait until the defense starts calling their witnesses and they start showing all of their cards, because they're not showing them all now, but you're getting Easter eggs. You're getting Easter eggs, and a lot of that's going to come back when they start presenting their case. All right, let's get back to the text messages.
Out front, but in front of Agent House, looks like more has been dug up there for at least looks like it.
Okay, and, Mr. Bates, can you go down the page, this is the responses. Okay, and who was it that responded to your notification that the troops were back on front?
That would be Brian Albert.
Right now, senior.
Senior.
And his response was,
Right now.
and that was at 1:34 p.m. and 45 seconds?
Yes, it was.
And you took that to be a question, correct?
I wonder what that status read means. I wonder if that's just like the case or what this pertains to. I'd be curious to find out what that means. And they do have some blurred information out there too. Oh, it's their full phone number, but I wonder what the status read is. I wonder if that's just a way that they identify with the case when the feds pull this stuff, but Danny says, I think it's the Cellbrite extraction. The defense has Jen's phone, so it could be from that too. Could be. As in read it. Read. Oh, that's right, because read is R-E-E. Duh! I'm a moron. Anyway.
Yeah, asking right now. Yes.
I'm thinking about the wrong read.
And you can move to the next.
I'm sorry. Hey, I make mistakes too. And it's red. It's not read. I'm an idiot.
And you responded to Brian by saying, what, to his question about right now?
I responded, yes.
And that was at 1:34 p.m. and 56 seconds.
It's because I've been saying Karen Reed for so long. I'm an idiot. I know. The chat's on me now. Hey, I screw up too. I'm not perfect. Believe me, I am not perfect at all. What a moron. I'm an idiot. I can't believe I just said that. Let me pull this up. CM Southern, $10. Let's add it to the total. If the jurors get kicked out for side-eyeing witnesses, I'd be right out now, way out. Thank you for common sense coverage. Thank you so much. I can't believe I said that. I'm totally lost. I wonder if that's the read. No, it says red, you dummy. That was good. Oh, man. I'm an idiot. All right, let's keep.
Yes.
You would have still been on scene at that time?
I'm not sure if I was still on scene, but I was obviously, if it was in the area, it must have been in the area, correct?
And the next exchange is this?
Oh, boy.
And who responded to you?
Brian Albert again.
I'm an idiot.
Response was?
Okay.
Do you have a memory as to whether or not Brian Albert was on scene at that time or if he was somewhere else?
I don't have a memory of where Brian was at that time.
Given the fact that you're saying troopers are up front and he's asking right now.
I'd assume he's not. I'd assume he's somewhere else. Yeah.
Now every time I see that, I'm gonna go back to this blunder. Mama Montana, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. I appreciate it. And I need glasses, by the way, too, just like probably Matt McCabe, but clearly I can see that, and I'm just an idiot. I would say blonde moment, but I don't have hair, so I was blonde before. But anyway, I digress. Let's play.
And your response to him, or your response to the group, I should say, was what?
I had to pick up a car, so I drove through.
Right, so this is a little further than we talked
Oh,
about.
I know, we're getting to the next one.
So take this one down, please.
Yeah, I remember I used to wear the fake glasses when I was opinionated idiot. Yep, I remember that. Mary, Cindy, I like where I came from, but I like where I landed. I definitely like where I landed. All right, I think.
I'm sorry.
Let me look at my notes. The heat is coming. At about 2:09. That already about 3 minutes.
The second bubble, please, Mr. Baker.
So in about 9 minutes from now, you're going to see Matt start squirming really hard.
On 2152.
I love that Karen's so involved in her case.
Okay, now we're at 1:35 PM and 16 seconds, Mr. McCabe.
Uh-oh.
Yes, that's correct.
And you are.
Trying to get a
next to the
picture.
group of you, your wife, Brian and Nicole Albert is what?
Trying to get pictures.
Oh, you know what I noticed here too? They didn't blur out the phone numbers. You can see the phone numbers didn't get blurred on in this one.
And at this point, I've asked the next bubble to be displayed, and then I'm going to skip to the bubble after that once you see it. The next bubble comes from Brian Albert.
Yes, Brian Albert.
And that's 1:35. and 30.
Mr. Yannetti, let him, the screen speaks for itself. If it doesn't, then the witness.
What time is that at?
1:35:32.
And his response, does that appear to be a typo?
PK, I'm assuming.
The next bubble after that would be 2153, please, just off. And that is from whom?
Brian Albert.
All right. And the time there, are you able to make that out?
Does that say 1:35:34 or 1:38:34?
Whatever it says. If you can't see it, you can't see it. Next.
Sure. And his response was,
Okay,
does that appear to be correct in the PK?
I'd have to go back and,
The previous one. You
Next question.
Sure. All right, we can take that off. I'd like to just go over two more areas of these group chats with you.
Oh, you know what I like here? You can see Liz really following Matt now. You notice every time he talks or answers, you can see her. It's almost like a tennis match. This is interesting. I've seen her do that a lot through the trial. She's been writing a lot of notes, and she's been watching attorneys, the jury a lot, and the witnesses. And, you know, she's kind of like the eyes and ears. So if Jackson or Yannetti misses anything, Liz is right there to back it up.
You would agree with me that later that same day on February 4th, the four of you, your wife, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert, discussed in that group chat the fact that Michael Proctor was talking to Kerry Roberts over the phone, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
At 3:01 and 48 seconds, you commented on the interview of Michael Proctor with Kerry Roberts, did you not?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen?
Oh, there's the oh my God. Did you hear it? Oh my God. Oh, what'd I do? What'd I do? I'm always good for one of these every night.
To just go over two more areas of these group chats with you.
Let's hear the, oh my
You
God.
would agree with me that later that same day on February 4th, the four of you, your wife, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert, discussed in that group chat the fact that Michael Proctor was talking to Kerry Roberts over the phone, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
At 3:01 and 48 seconds, you commented on the interview of Michael Proctor with Kerry Roberts, did you not?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen?
Said it right there. All right, sidebar. All right, here we go. Now process, Matt. Process it. Dun, dun, what am I gonna do? We need like Jeopardy music. Do 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 do. Oh, and this is where I really, in my notes, this is where you're gonna pay attention when he hands those back. Watch his body language. Do 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 do. How am I gonna get out of this one? Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, if I turn the phone to this direction, will it make the word change? That light is not going to make the word change. Yeah, look at him shaking that paper. There's the sirens again. Look at him.
All right, Mr. McCabe, generally, do you recognize those,
Yeah.
sir? All right, so
I'm
go
just
ahead.
marching up. Yep.
Okay,
That was when she said it. He was trying to process. Watch his body language here. He's gonna go up. I think this is where he touches his neck, and that's a huge sign of nerves.
go ahead, Mr. Yannetti.
The pages that I've handed to you and that you now have in your possession, those are from the same group chat that you identified earlier, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And it appears to have the same sequence and content of the group chat as well?
Yes.
Hold on for that one.
Right here, watch.
Over the Commonwealth's objection, again, I'm not sending anything to the jury that they can't read. So let's
here.
mark this for identification.
Whoa!
And the substance of those, each individual one will be.
That is nerves.
Understood. So, Mr. Bates, with regard to page 2160, I'm looking for the second bubble.
Do you have an extra copy for me to follow along? No?
You're gonna see it in
Or,
another
Jim, was it, Mr. Yannetti, was this in the, what was marked for, you're using that?
I believe we have extra copies of. Thank you.
All right, and if it's a question by question objection, just
May that be displayed on?
Please,
may what be displayed?
loosening the tie.
That as an exhibit, and I'm asking-
And I did not take it in. I said the content on a question by question, so it's each bubble.
All right. You saw that at 3:01 p.m. and 48 seconds on February 1st that you texted, quote, very weird that she's been barely interviewed. The whole dead comment was just told. I was supposed to have them talk last night and forgot to tell Proctor to call her. Do you recall that?
I recall it, correct.
Those are your words, correct?
Yes, they are.
May that be displayed? Please?
No, it's in. We may display it later, but I'd like to move this testimony along. So that's in evidence.
And then in that discussion, at 3:03 p.m. and 15 seconds, it was Brian Albert who texted, quote, hope they don't think she's making it up after the fact for some reason, end quote, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
He is nervous.
Can you read the timestamp again?
It's the
Yes, it's on-
second
it's on
page.
page 02161.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's in the middle. I got that timestamp correct?
3:03:15.
Correct. And I read that accurately. Hope they don't think she's making it up after the fact.
Yes, that's correct.
And then
Little Eminem with Katie.
less than a minute later at 3:05 and 32 seconds, you replied, yes, she was hardly interviewed, and I think just answered what was asked. Oh, I'm sorry, strike that whole question. I skipped his next response, which was at 3:05 and 2 seconds, where he said, but if they barely interviewed her, that's on them, correct?
That's from Brian. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, with regard to that exchange, you would agree with me that you were talking about Kerry Roberts being interviewed by Michael Cohen, correct?
I don't want to make an assumption. Do you have the text previous to this that shows that we're referencing Kerry?
I do, and I'll show you that only to refresh your memory.
Yeah, I don't want to assume something.
I understand. I'm going to show you one page.
Oh,
and ask you to
man,
look at
look
it
at
silently too.
Oh!
That's open the copy of the page.
Okay.
You just look up at me when you're done.
That is nerves.
Yeah. Again, my assumption is Kerry based.
You caught.
Can I go back another page?
Feel free.
Okay, that was it. That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
Did those previous pages refresh your memory about the context of your group chat conversation?
Yes, it did.
And certainly it was talking about Kerry Roberts being interviewed, correct?
Yes, it was.
And you were passing along information about that interview to Brian Albert, were you not?
Yes, I was letting him know that Kerry was being interviewed.
And you were telling him things that she was saying, correct?
We are one subscriber away from hitting 19,800. So if someone's new here in the chat, click that subscribe button. Let's go. And I need 200 more subscribers to be at 20,000. I appreciate every single person that has been on this long journey with all of us. It's been a long time here. And it just keeps getting better. All right, let's keep playing.
Remember you said the whole dead comment was just told?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
All right, in any case, we're going to move on to the very last discussion that I'd like to ask you about. Earlier that day, February 1st, 2022, at 12:50 p.m. and 37 seconds,
Uh-oh.
Brian Albert texted the group, which would have again been his wife Nicole, your wife Jennifer, and you.
Wow.
And that text was
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, so I can't, which bubble on which page?
02148.
Right.
Why are we
On which page?
censoring text?
That's the page, 02148.
He is nervous.
Okay, so I don't have
And
it.
the bubble is the second of the three bubbles.
So I don't have it.
I don't have it.
I don't know what the objection's pertaining to.
Kind of looks like Chris.
Jurors, I apologize that this is
Look at
taking so
He
long.
is nervous, man. Woo!
You know what, Ms. Giannetti, why don't you?
Sit back to the court, Your Honor. And for the
So you're objecting to it, so I'm not going to let you say what it is. You can show it to the witness.
yeah, well,
You hear him?
Which one is this?
second bubble on 02148. Then the third bubble on 02148. And then the first bubble on 02149. That's all I'll be asking about.
Thank you.
All right, so I won't allow, based on the objection from the Commonwealth, the second bubble on 02148. I will allow the author of the third bubble.
This is so crazy. She's censoring texts. It's just insane. I tell you, this judge is for the Commonwealth, and the defense team knows this, and you know they'll get their point through. I think they already have, and it's been 3 weeks and they haven't even presented their case yet. $230 total. That's going to be 25% kickback to Karen Reed. KS with a 499er says lawyer Andrea Burkhart discovered that Bev has a high rate of cases overturned on appeal, which is usually rare, something like 5 out of 11. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. All right, let's keep playing.
On page 02148
No, the second bubble on 02148.
is not allowed into evidence.
I need to be heard on that then.
No, all right, I'll hear you at sidebar.
Why? No, she says. Give me a break, man. You don't think she's for the Commonwealth?
Back in session, please be seated.
Giannetti.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McCabe, when we broke, I was just about to ask you about the last exchange here. You will agree with me that on February 1st of 2022 at 12:51 and 49 seconds, you texted the group chat to say, ask Chris to ask some questions, correct?
Yep, I'm reading it right now. Yes, that's correct.
And who was the Chris you were referring to?
That would be Chris Albert.
Brian's brother, correct?
That is correct.
And then you texted your wife, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert, quote, tell them the guy never went in the house.
Wow.
Correct?
Yeah, that's part of the same text. Yes,
Mr. McCabe, who was the guy that you were referring to? Does he have a name?
that would be John O'Keefe.
When you told the group to tell them the guy never went in the house, that was you talking about how you should all get your stories straight, correct?
No,
Wow.
You would agree with me that your stories are all straight in terms of the guy never went in the house, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
John never went in the house. It's not a story, it's a fact.
Well, when you said,
Why
tell
are you getting
them
flustered?
the guy never went in the house, Brian Albert was on that exchange still, was he not? He was still part of the group text?
Yes, Brian is on the exchange.
And Brian Albert was the one to respond, wasn't he?
Let me switch pages
Now,
here.
let me look here.
51.
He responded, did he not?
Yes, he did.
And then at that point, you knew Brian Albert was the oldest brother of the Albert family, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The oldest sibling in that family, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And in his response to your instructions that his younger brother, Chris, should say that John O'Keefe never went in the house, or the guy never went in the house, you would agree with me that he responded with one word, correct?
Wow.
Yes, he did.
And in response to you saying the guy never went in the house, Brian Albert's response was, exactly. Correct?
Yes, that's his response.
We're done here.
right.
I love that.
Commonwealth, any redirect?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
I don't need to hear Lally. Let's get to Jen McCabe. All right. How's everybody doing? Still with me? Do you want me to go through Jen McCabe? Let me know. If you want me to go through Jen McCabe, give me a 1. If you want me to end the show, hit a 2. But I'm going to probably say it's going to be a lot of 1s. I'm ready. I can still go. I'm good. It's a Saturday night. We're having fun. We're hanging out. All right, we're going. Here we go.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Okay. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure. Jennifer McCabe,
You
MCCABE,
got a cross on too?
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton.
And how long have you lived in here?
Approximately 20, well, my whole life, I lived in Canton, except for when I first got married, I lived in Stoughton for a year or two.
And where do you live currently in Canton? How long have you lived here?
I live at,
All right, I'm going to get past this crap with Lally. Let's see if we can get into some testimony here that we want to hear.
husband lived in the neighborhood, and my daughter became friends with John's niece when they were in kindergarten. And during that kindergarten year, John's sister and then brother-in-law passed away, and John moved in and took care of the kids.
And just for clarity purposes, this would have been when you were living at the home on Sutcliffe?
Yes.
And then after John moved in with his niece and nephew,
Double time.
what if any role or what if any relationship that you have with either John or his niece?
KRM944 says she just subscribed. Thanks for covering this. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We love new subscribers. I'm a live. I just want to let everybody know I am a live chat channel. That's what I do. Just hit the live button and go. I just feel more natural doing it. I have such a tough time like making when I sit down and make like an 8-minute video, it takes me like 8 hours. And if I just hit the live button and go live and watch the chat and interact with all of you, that's what we do. I love it. So yeah, I asked that question too. Is Jen wearing a cross? All right, let's go.
So my daughter was very good friends with his niece. And so, you know, she would be over all the time, and JJ would come over with Patrick and pick her up, and he would come in and talk to us and hang out.
And how would you describe your relationship with John O'Keefe?
He was my friend. I love John. He was an amazing guy.
Yeah, let's look at the jury. Let's get our point across. I love John. He was an amazing guy. Yeah, sure. You didn't love John. You love John. You
Now-
want a great thing.
With reference to Karen Reed, just for clarity purposes, do you see Karen Reed in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Do you identify just as to where she's seated or not?
She's seated between her attorneys.
Just as a record of flight identification.
Yes.
If you all don't know, and you might not know this, when I went into one of the hearings before, guess who I got to sit behind? Yes, one Jennifer McCabe was literally sitting right in front of me. It was very interesting.
Now, with respect to the defendant, Ms. Reed, when was it that you met her?
John had reached out to me saying that he was dating a new girl and that she had MS and I also have MS. So he said he would like for me to meet her.
And how long have you had MS?
I believe it will be 10 years this October.
Did she stink?
And do you recall specifically when around that was, what year, what month, anything like that?
That I met Miss Reed.
Thank
Yes,
you,
they came
Rag.
over in July of 2020.
And came over to your house, is that correct?
Yes, they came over to the house. They brought the kids, swam. I have a pool.
Now, over the course of, you're familiar, obviously, that Ms. Reed was dating Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Mhm.
Over the course of time,
Yes. Sorry.
over the course of time from July of 2020, when you met her, to January of 2022, how often would you see Ms. Reed?
It would vary. You know, there were times that we would bump into them, or depending on their sports, or, for my daughter's birthday party, when it was time to pick up, they'd come over and hang out, or Halloween. It just varied. We have 4 kids, so we're always kind of in all different directions. Sometimes it depends on what sport month it is and what team we're with.
Trying to be wholesome.
And how would you describe your
You're back.
relationship with Ms. Reed?
I enjoyed Miss Reed. I really liked her. I thought we connected from the beginning. She was very easy to talk to. She had MS, I had MS, and there's not a lot of people our age that I personally know that have it. So it was nice to have someone who understood like what I was going through. So we had that in common.
Now, with respect, to either, starting with Mr. O'Keefe, was your friendship the type where you would have any sort of discussions about his relationship with Ms. Reed or anything, or any girl that he dated at any point in time that you were friends with him?
At different points, yes.
And what, if anything, specific do you recall him telling you about his relationship with Ms. Reed specifically?
I'm going to allow that. I'd like to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Sorry about that. Had to use the restroom. All right, let me speed this up.
What, if anything, did you observe as far as what was in the class?
It was clear.
Were there any other kind of like a straw or a line or anything
Oh
like
my
that?
God.
I don't remember.
As far as you knew, at some point did you become aware of where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had been prior to coming over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And where were
CF McCarthy's,
they? Where is that in location to the waterfall?
just right up the street.
Now, over the course of the evening, you were at a bar. Fair to say you were drinking, is that right?
Yes.
Do you recall specifically what you were drinking?
I think beer.
And same question with regard to Mr. O'Keefe. Do you recall him drinking? And if so, what, if anything, was he drinking?
I can't be certain. Possibly a beer, but I can't be certain.
And with respect to Ms. Reed, same question as far as you recall her drinking, and if so, what, if anything, do you recall her?
Again, I remember just a clear glass with clear liquid in it.
Any different glass beyond the one that you've already testified about, or no?
I don't remember, sorry.
Now, when you left the waterfall sometime around midnight, is that correct?
Yes.
And let me ask you this first. I'm sorry. So with respect to the time that you were at the waterfall, did you speak with Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, briefly at the bar.
And do you recall just generally what it was that you talked about?
Yes, his niece had just gotten into Bishop Fian, so he was very excited.
And with respect to Ms. Reed, did you speak to her at the bar?
Yes.
And do you recall what, if anything, the two of you spoke about?
Yes.
And what was it?
Karen had shared a little
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. She just subscribed. Thank you.
bit
Appreciate
of
you.
frustration that morning. Or one morning she had taken Kaylee to Dunkin' Donuts, and John, was frustrated, didn't, saying, don't take her. She's going to, make a habit of it, meaning like she's going to come to expect it every day. And then we just talked about how, challenging it is with kids. And, she mentioned that that's kind of all they have a fight about. And I said, yeah, well, welcome to parenthood, and, she just was a little bit frustrated, felt like the family needed to be doing more to help. And she just wished she had, more time, just her and John. But again, it was just, girlfriend to girlfriend kind of venting.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, what any observations did you make as to how he was dressed?
Baseball hat, jeans. That's what I remember.
Do you recall any sort of winter coat or heavier coat or anything like that?
No.
Now, over the course of the evening at the waterfall, what, if any, discussion was there amongst the group as far as going somewhere next or what to do after the waterfall?
Karen had asked Chris if we could go up to D&E. She wanted to go up to D&E and have him cook some food.
And was that something that was brought up by the defendant once, more than once, or something?
Many times.
And what was sort of the response from the group in regards to going to D&E and making food?
So Brian, Chris, and Matt do this annual weight loss challenge every year, and it was in the midst of that. So they were like, no, 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 we can't go up there. We're not going to eat. We'll do it another time.
Now, following the conversation, what if any other, let me ask you this, why did you go to the waterfall first?
So I went to meet my sister, Nicole. She was heading there because she was going to go have a drink with her. Her son was going to have some friends and then meet out. So I was going to meet them for a drink for my nephew's birthday.
To be clear, that nephew was Brian Albert Jr., is that right?
Yes.
Did Brian Albert Jr. ever show up at the waterfall that evening?
He did not know.
You know why not?
Brian suffers from anxiety, and during that time period, he was really struggling.
So he decided to stay home.
He just decided to stay home, yes.
And so after the discussion about going over to D&E and then the communication of not going over, what if any other discussion was had as to where people were going or what was happening after leaving the waterfall?
Brian Albert Sr. Just made a general, hey, I'm going to go home, have a drink with Brian if anyone would like to come.
And was that something that was just to certain people, or was it expressed at the table, or how was that expressed?
It was expressed to everyone, like, hey, we're going to go back home, have a beer with Brian.
Jem, thank you so much for becoming a rookie detective. I know that's a $2 membership, but we'll knock that up to $5, and then we'll add that to the total tonight. And then 25% of the total will get kicked back to Karen Reed.
Brian, if anyone would like to come.
Now, after that was sort of put out to the table, what, if any, discussion did you have in regard to that with either Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, or both?
Both of them. I said, oh, you guys should come. Do you want to come?
And did they indicate that that was something that they wanted to do, or did they indicate that they would come?
They both wanted to come, and they said they were coming, yes.
Now, when you left the waterfall, if anyone left with you or left at the same time?
I believe I walked out with Karen. I know
Brian Jr. wasn't at the waterfall.
I walked out with Karen, and I believe Miss Kolakidis as well.
Prior to you leaving, your sister Nicole and her husband Brian, had they left prior to you leaving?
Yes.
And so you're walking out with the defendant and Ms. Kolakidis, is that right?
Yes.
And when you were walking out with them, what, if anything, was the sort of conversation or discussion as you were walking out?
Well, Matt and John were still inside. So at one point I said, oh, Karen, why don't you just come with me? Figuring, because, Matt can talk to anyone, and God knows how long he was going to stay in there. So I was just like, hey, do you want to drive with me? And they can meet us.
Your husband's a talker, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as the car that you had parked there before, where was that parked in relation to what?
I believe I had to kind of walk straight out.
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot, yes.
And after you had exited from the waterfall, at some point did you observe Mr. O'Keefe come out as well?
Yes, he did.
And did you have a conversation with him in the parking lot while you were out there?
I believe briefly, Karen, him, and I all spoke, yes.
You recall briefly what you spoke about?
Them coming back to Fairview.
And after sort of the two of you parted ways, did you observe where Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant went?
I just saw them they walked left, I walked straight.
And if one were to walk left in the direction they were walking, where would that bring them to?
Washington Street, the main street.
So you went over then to your car in the parking lot?
Yes.
And while you were in your car in the parking lot, well, let me ask you this question. When you walked out of the waterfall, what, if anything, was different about the weather from when you had walked?
Oh, my God.
It had started to snow.
And as far as the snow was concerned, what was that initial point when you walked out of the waterfall? Had it accumulating or anything like that?
Yes, I would say, it was starting to cover the car, so you'd have to put your windshield wipers on.
All right, we get it. I'm going to speed up here. Fucking Lally on the weather. It's always the weather. Let's go back from break. I think it gets a little bit more interesting there.
Content of those text communications?
Yes.
Now, with reference to Mr. O'Keefe, this is someone that you knew and you had his information put into your phone as far as a contact?
Yes.
And on prior occasions when you had contacted, or specifically that morning when you had left the waterfall and you talked to him on the phone, you called him and who answered? You called the contact that you had as John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Who answered the phone?
John.
And then the contact that you would put in as John O'Keefe called you and you answered, and who was on the other line?
John.
Madam Mayor Pro?
Yes.
Almost to introduce in the minute.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. And this is subject to what we talked about in sidebar?
Yes, understood.
Thank you. That's exhibit 89. All right, thank you.
John, with respect to what's now been marked as exhibit 89, if I could, with court permission, publish that. Sure.
Yes.
No, Lally sounds like. Have you ever seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The guy that's the butler, Riff Raff. Hello. He kind of sounds like him, or he sounds like Hannibal Lecter. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Those are the two people that come to my mind when I hear Lally's voice. Hello. Riff Raff, right? Hello.
Okay, what's up on the screen? Is that what you have before you as that exhibit?
Yes,
And this is a text communication between yourself and Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
correct.
I'm sorry, may we?
Sure, why don't you take that down, Ms. Gilman?
All right, we
Yeah.
can get a
Thank you.
sidebar.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. So, Mr. McCabe, with what's for you and what's up on the screen as the exhibits, there are sort of green bubbles and blue bubbles, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell the jury as far as who's communicating which direction, as far as the green bubbles are who and the blue bubbles?
Green is John and blue is myself.
And so the first text from this particular date, if you could just read to the jury as far as from whom the message is sent, what the content is, and then what the time is.
So John sent to me where to at 12:14.
And if it's issue, if you have that in front of you.
Okay.
So the next bubble down is a blue bubble, is that correct?
Correct.
Similar to the one before, can you just read as far as that, well, before I get to that, I'm sorry. So you receive that message from Mr. O'Keefe, you call him, have a conversation, he calls you back for the conversation.
Correct.
And then subsequent to that, could you read the next blue bubble down as far as from whom, what content is, and what time it is?
So this one is from myself to John, and it says here at 12:27. So at that point, I see a car out front, and I text him here.
Testify to as far as looking out the front storm door, seeing a car, and then you send the text.
Correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if you would scroll down to that.
Wait a minute. And I might be wrong on this, and maybe someone can correct me. Wait a minute. Didn't Matt McCabe said that they left Fairview at 12:10? Didn't he say, like, give or take, they were leaving Fairview at 12:10? Am I lost here? I thought Matt McCabe testified that they left Fairview at 12:10. Or maybe I'm thinking that he looked out the window at 12:10. Didn't he say that they left at 12:10? That they walked out of... Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. I thought that Matt McCabe said he looked out the window at 12:10 at Fairview. The waterfall. Okay. I don't know. We got some mixed. They've all talked about this 12:10. That's why I'm confused. I'm sitting here and I'm going, everybody says 12:10. I got to go back. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that tomorrow and confirm it on the next one. I don't think I'm wrong. I think Matt McCabe said just on testimony, and it's going to take me a while to find it, but I'm going to have to confirm it because I'm sitting here and I'm going, wait a minute, this doesn't add up.
And ma'am, similar, if you could just, who sent it, what's the content, and what is that?
I sent to John, pull behind me at 12:31.
And what were you referring to when you said hold on?
So at this point, the car had moved from the prior spot where I originally saw it. So I thought, what is he doing? Why don't they just pull behind me in the driveway?
You just scroll down. And again, with this bubble, you could read out.
From me to John saying hello, and it was at 12:40.
And at this point in time, as far as, let me ask you this way. When you're sending these text messages over these periodic time periods, what, if anything, are you doing sort of in
So I originally went to the front door, saw the car, texted them, then texted John. Then I went back, kind of sat at the table, just either threw my phone probably in my back pocket. And then a couple of minutes later, I got up again and saw that the car had moved. So I had sent the pole behind me. And then a few minutes later, I went back to the window, to the front door, I'm sorry.
And when you went back to the front door, what, if anything, did you see at that?
So at this specific point at 12:40, when I say hello, I cannot be certain whether they were still out front or if they had left.
And from any of these text messages that you sent, what kind of response did you receive from Mr. O'Keefe after alerting?
None.
Ms. Young, if you could, next level. And similar to the prior one.
Sure. Jen to John, where are you? And that was at 12:42.
Next level.
Myself to John, hello, at 12:45.
Now, this is later in the morning, and we'll get to that a little bit more in the morning. But at some point, you left residence of Fairview, you went home, and you were woken by something, and then at some point, you texted John later on that morning, 29th.
Yes,
The next couple of those text messages that you sent at that point,
correct.
similar to the other one.
Myself to John, please answer at 4:59. Myself to John, Karen is worried. We need to find you at 4:59. Myself to John, please answer so I know you're okay. 5:04.
May I approach this retreat? Now, Ms. McCabe, I can take you back to at the house on Fairview. Again, you are sending these text messages and going back to the table and then going back to the window at various times.
To the front door.
To the front window.
Yes.
And at any point in time, do you see anybody exit from the dark SUV or the black SUV you see in front of the house?
No.
And at any point in time, did John O'Keefe come into the house?
No.
And at any point in time, did John O'Keefe respond to your text messages?
No.
At any point in time, did John O'Keefe call?
No.
That's rehearsed.
Now, at some point,
See how she like keeps the direct eye contact with Lally, won't look at the jury, bangs it in. When I ask you these questions in this order, you're gonna look right at me and we're gonna bang it out. You're gonna go no, 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 no.
subsequent to this, have you had occasion to look at your phone or at your call history?
Yes.
And through review of that, were you able to see phone calls that your phone made to John O'Keefe's phone around that same time frame that you were texting him and going to the school?
Yes.
May I approach, Ron?
Yes.
Super leading, scripted. Mods, what do I have for total donations tonight? Can you just let me know? I'm going to have to wrap up here in 15 minutes. I just want to let everybody know. So I'm not going to be able to get completely through this. I have a situation going on that I need to go take care of. So I'm going to wrap up probably just at the 3-hour mark. So about another 15 minutes. So we're at 2:30. We're at 2:30 right now. As of right now, we still got a little bit of time to go. And 25% kickback will be $57. I'll round it up to 60 if we don't get to 60. All right, about another 15 minutes and I'm going to wrap this one up. I appreciate everybody hanging out on this Saturday night here on LTL Media. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And we're very, very close. We got a lot of new subscribers that came in, 19,853. We're about 150 away from 20,000 subscribers. All right, let's go.
And I'm showing you a 4-page document. Look at it, look up when you finish. And if I could suggest, I think it starts in reverse order from page 4, timing-wise, up through page 1.
Jen! I got to clip that. Jen! Jen. Jen.
Just generally speaking, ma'am, do you recognize what's contained in that 4-page document?
I do.
And what do you recognize?
The calls between myself and John O'Keefe.
And am I correct that it starts in sort of a descending order as far as the earliest calls are on page 4 and then the most recent are on the first page?
Yes,
And the phone calls that you were testifying to about before, as far as talking to him on the way from the waterfall to residents at Fairview, did they appear in those?
they do.
May we push, please?
Okay, may I have that?
All right, let's.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. McCabe, you had mentioned that during the course of the evening, shortly after you arrived at the residence at Fairview, you observed a vehicle outside of your sister's house, correct?
Yes,
And Your Honor, with course permission, I would ask to publish with this witness Exhibit 71, 72, and
All right, I want to move up when she says Karen the next morning. Let's get to the Jen. Could be here.
that they had gotten into a fight and
Oh,
she
yeah.
left him there, and now John's niece.
So that would be John's niece.
So this is the next. I've sped up a little bit. Now, John's niece is called. She's going to hand the phone to Karen, which I said in my notes. I feel like she's going to testify. That Karen says John didn't come home. They got into a fight, that she left him at the waterfall, meaning that Karen left John at the waterfall. So I think that she's trying to intensify that Karen was drunk and intoxicated and she couldn't remember what happened. That's essentially what she's trying to do here.
Haley, is that correct?
Correct.
And how old was she at this time?
I believe she was 14.
And she had just gotten into Bishop Thean, correct?
Correct.
She was in 8th grade going in, finishing up her 8th grade year of middle school, correct?
Yes.
Is that a normal thing, that Haley would be calling you at 4:53 in the morning on Saturday?
No.
So you answer the call, is that correct?
Yes.
When you answer the call, who, if anyone, is initially on the other end?
Initially, it's Kaylee.
And what, if anything, did Haley say to you?
That John didn't come home and Karen wanted to talk to me.
And even in that initial call, when you're speaking to Haley, what, if anything, do you hear sort of in the background when you're talking?
Right here.
Karen screaming.
And could you hear what she was screaming?
She was just screaming, Jen, Jen, Jen.
Fairly loudly, is that correct?
Extremely.
Well, if that's true, then doesn't that sound like someone that's concerned? Someone that doesn't want their boyfriend dead? That they're frantically looking for them? I mean, that's an indication, right? If I didn't want my boyfriend or girlfriend alive anymore, then why would I be calling in a panic and frantically screaming?
Now, at some point, does the defendant get on the phone with you?
She does.
And what, if any, conversation do you have with her at that?
She proceeds to scream my name multiple times, and she tells me that John didn't come home, they got into a fight, and that she left him at the waterfall.
And how do you respond?
I had just woken up. I was confused. I didn't know what she was talking about. I was like,
So she says that she just woken up. She's confused. She doesn't know what she's talking about, but has the wherewithal to go down and make coffee for herself.
what are you talking about? And then she, told me that they had gotten into a fight and she left him there. And now where is he? And she was just kept screaming my name over and over. And so then I remembered that Chris Albert had still been at the bar. So I thought, well, maybe
So rehearsed, by the way.
John walked home with Chris because Chris lives close to the waterfall.
And so at some point, that conversation ended and you recall how that ended.
I told her that I was going to call Julie and see if John had ended up with Chris.
And so you hang up with her, and then what did you do then?
I called Julie Albert.
And did Julie pick up the phone?
She did not.
And as you were calling Julie, did you have any conversation with your husband, Matt, around that time?
Yes. He, had kind of shot up out of bed when Karen had called. When Kaylee had called because Karen was screaming. And then he was, what's going
Trying to get her point across. She keeps looking at the jury. See, she's trying to, I need you to buy this story. I need you to buy this story. That's why she keeps looking at the jury and poking over and looking at them. I got to look at them. I got to get my point across. I got to get my story. I need them to believe it.
Going on. And I said, well, I'm calling Julie because Karen, they got into a fight and I was trying to explain it to him. And he said, what are you talking about? We saw them outside of your sister's house. And at that point, I hung up.
And when you hung up, Julie had not answered yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just like
Now,
Amber
as
Heard.
far as Miss Reed is that someone who had your phone number? Did you have her plugged into your phone as a contact before that date of January 29th?
No.
So never had any kind of conversation with her over the phone as far as a text or phone call or anything. You didn't even have her information.
Correct.
And so after hanging up while calling Julie, what, if anything, did you do then?
And then I'm not sure if I called
Danny,
Kaylee
thank
back
you.
or if Kaylee called me back.
At some point, you get back in touch with Kaylee or at least her phone, correct?
Yes, I get Karen. I get in touch with Karen again, and I say, Karen, we saw you outside of my sister's.
And what was her response to that?
She told me that she didn't remember going there, and then she started yelling, Jen, Jen, and then she was saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And then she proceeded to say that she had a cracked taillight.
And this is while you're still in your home and you're in your bedroom, correct?
Correct.
And what was your response to that?
I thought she was honestly like just talking crazy. And then she said, oh my God, I left him there. Like she was extremely irrational. She said that it told me again that they had gotten into a fight. So now she was just kind of all over the place, just screaming. She was very hard to understand. So my brain started going, okay, well, if she left him there, where could he be? Who could he be with?
As you're going through that sort of process, what did you do next?
So then earlier in the night, there was another individual who we had been in contact with, or my husband had been talking to, and he had mentioned that he was going to meet up with John at Waterfall as well, but he never ended up coming. I knew he was at
What's up, MCAT?
a house close to Fairview. So I thought, well, maybe if they got into a fight, like John might have texted this individual and maybe he just ended up on his couch.
Who was that individual?
Tom Beatty.
And who was Tom Beatty in relation to, how did you know?
He has two daughters that are the same age as my daughters.
One of those daughters, at least around the same age as Kaylee.
Yes.
And so based on sort of that process, or thought process and what you're doing, what did you do then?
So then I start calling Tom.
LJ, my sources tell me the jury is not buying it. I have a source that's been in the courtroom basically since day one, and they're telling me they're not buying it. Not at all. They can see through this crap.
And at any point in time, did you call Tom? Did Tom pick up the phone? Did you speak with him?
Good night,
He did
Dean.
not.
Have a good night. Thank you.
And so following that, what did you do?
Thank you.
So I know at some point I was starting to call John. My husband was as well. At that point, I get up and I'm like, okay, well, we got to go out and look for him. And in my head, I was thinking I'll drive over to Tom's and maybe he's there. I then go downstairs. Mac gets up. He's starting to get dressed. I go downstairs. I make a coffee. And
So she was so panicked. Remember, she loved John. She loved John. Remember, he was a friend. What was her quote? I got to go back to this magical quote. Let's go back. He was my friend. I loved John. He's an amazing guy. Well, the friend that you loved, the friend that was the amazing guy, and the panic that you were in, you had the wherewithal to go downstairs and make yourself a coffee. I'm going to tell you, the jury's going to remember all this. This is a load of shit. You didn't care. If you're in a panic and you have to go, you go. You don't worry about those things. You throw on some clothes and you go. Doesn't matter if you've eaten. Doesn't matter if you had any water. Doesn't matter if you had any coffee. You go.
I'm not sure how much time passed, but then all of a sudden I hear screaming out front.
Now, if I could just take it back for a second, as far as a decade or so that you had known and been friends with John O'Keefe, with his either his niece or his nephew or both home, is him not coming home, is that something that had ever happened before, you were ever aware of before?
I was never.
Ask it differently.
Had John ever gone out at night and then not come home with the kids?
Objection.
I'm gonna allow it.
Not to my knowledge, no.
So at some point you make your way downstairs, is that right?
Correct.
And then what, if anything, did you hear once you were downstairs?
Screaming
And where was the screaming coming from?
out front.
And when you heard that screaming, where did you go?
I ran to my front door.
At some point, did you open your front door?
I opened my front door, correct.
And then what did you see when you opened the front door?
Miss Reed came running up my walkway.
Why is she
And prior to
Again.
during any of the other
staring at the jury? This is like Amber Heard shit. Staring at the jury. Ready?
conversations that you had with Ms. Reed, did you know where she was when you were talking to her?
No.
Obviously, the first call was Kaylee calling from the house. That was
Yes.
the assumption.
Mhm.
And then
So
subsequent.
is that a yes or no?
Yes.
And as far as the second call that you were talking about, do you know where she was when she was talking to you then?
The first couple calls, I know she was at the house, and then I don't know.
So was opening your door, hearing the screaming from out front, was that something that surprised you?
Yes.
And when you hear the screaming, if you could just explain to the jury, how loud was the screaming that you were hearing?
Very loud.
And what, if anything, was she saying?
It was more of the, Jen,
Jen,
Jen, did I hit him? And then she would yell, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And then she was yelling, we have to go to Fairview.
And in addition to Ms. Reed, what, if anything, else did you see?
did I hit him? Could I have hit him? That doesn't indicate anybody's guilt. That's someone being concerned. This is such a load of shit,
When
man.
you opened up the door?
Just,
That's been a better way. Did
Yeah.
you see a vehicle?
yes,
And where was the vehicle and what did the vehicle look like?
it was in my driveway. I believe the driver door was left open.
And what kind of vehicle was it?
A black Lexus.
Consistent with what you had seen outside of Fairview the night or earlier in the morning.
Yes.
And so as she's coming up your walk towards your front door,
Running. Yes.
and then what, if any, conversation did you have with her there in reference to that?
I just said, Karen, I was trying to calm her down.
Yeah.
Matt came.
Yeah,
I believe
I got to look at the jury and I got to embellish the story here now. This is a bunch of line of shit. She looks at the jury. I was trying to calm her down. Karen, look at the jury. Look at the jury. Karen, look at her. Now she's going to embellish the story. Usually when people look up to, they're lying because she's trying to pull down the memory, sort it with the truth and pull down that lie.
and was yelling down that she was going to wake up the neighborhood. And then she was yelling that we had to go to Fairview.
Yeah.
So
Go
I
to the
told
jury.
Matt that I was going to go with Karen.
Initially, before that, what were your plans as far as going to look for John before Ms. Reed showed up?
My husband and I were going to go to Tom Beatty's.
Now, once you decide that now you're going with Ms. Reed, the defendant, where did the two of you go?
So as we walked out, there was a car pulled up and then a plow.
Where has the car pulled up?
No.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. So the car pulls up and then the plow, and then what happened?
So in the car was Kerry Roberts. And so she kind of rolled down the window and was like, Karen, what are you doing? And then the plow was behind her. So Kerry pulled up and I told Karen that I was going to drive her car because I didn't want her driving because she was hysterical. So we got in her car and then Kerry Roberts called Karen. And then Karen was screaming and, saying that she had cracked her taillight. We need to go to Fairview. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And then she would just scream our names. Kerry was telling her to shut up, that we needed to just go back to John's and we'll drive in one car and let's go to John's. Maybe he's there and he's passed out.
Why would you go to John's house? If the last place that you left someone at would be Fairview, if that's where John was and Karen dropped him at Fairview, why would they go to John's house? That's a delay tactic. Why would you say, oh, we're going to drive to John's house? You would go back to the initial point of where you left sight of someone. That's a delay tactic. She's buying time. If I'm with my girlfriend and I dropped her off at restaurant A, and that's the last place that I saw her, I would want to go back to restaurant A, not go to her house, right?
And you didn't see him.
When you open up the door initially and you come outside and you see the defendant out there screaming.
And they did that because they didn't want Karen to drive because Karen probably would have bolted right back to 34 Fairview. I'm going to drive. You get in with me. We're going to bullshit and kill a lot of time. We'll go to John's house and look around and see if we find anything and then go back to Fairview. That's the buy time.
Screaming and all of that. Again, with respect to the weather, what was the weather?
It was like dark and it was almost like a whiteout.
And so you get into Ms. Reed's vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And you're driving that vehicle from your house to Meadows Ave, is that correct?
Yes.
That's Ms. O'Keefe's house.
Yes.
You're familiar with that residence? You've been there plenty of times before.
Yes.
Now, with respect to Kerry Roberts, did you know Kerry Roberts prior to this morning of January 29th?
I had met her once before.
And can you describe for the jury sort of the circumstances of that or how you knew her prior to January 29th?
Way back when, after John's sister and brother-in-law died, I would have Kaylee a lot and Kerry would have Patrick. And one day John said, I get a discount at Reebok. I'm going to take you guys for sneakers, get all your kid sizes. So he took Kerry and myself and we went to Reebok. We bought sneakers for all my girls and me. And then he took Kerry and I to the hillside for lunch just to thank him for, helping, because that's what he did.
Now, was Kerry Roberts
So rehearsed.
someone that you had as contact saved in your phone? Had you ever texted her or called her, or talked to her over your phone before?
No.
So you indicated that Ms. Roberts then calls Ms. Reed's phone while you're in Ms. Reed's car, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as Ms. Reed's phone, was that similar to your phone that earlier in the morning? Was that hooked up in any way or matched or paired with the vehicle that you were driving?
Yes.
So fair to say you could hear both sides of the conversation as far as Ms. Reed talking next to you and then obviously Ms. Roberts on the other end.
Yes.
So the conversation that you were talking about as far as Ms. Roberts saying, shut up and we're going to Meadows Ave and all that, you could hear Ms. Roberts saying that?
Yes.
Now, the vehicle, when you get into the defendant's vehicle, she pulled in straight into your driveway, is that correct?
Yes.
So fair to say you had to back out of the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Now, when you were operating Ms. Reed's vehicle in reverse, what, if anything, showed up in sort of the center console area of that vehicle?
I do not remember. I don't know.
Do you recall anything as far as the camera or anything like that?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
You back the vehicle out of the driveway,
Mhm.
and you proceed to Meadows Ave, correct?
Yes.
And about how long a drive is it from your house to Ms. O'Keefe's?
Approximately 5-6 minutes.
And when you get to Mr. O'Keefe's house, where do you park?
I pull in straight in the driveway.
And after you pull into the driveway, at some point you all get out, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall who pulled in first as far as who was in front of who on the way to Meadows, yourself or Ms. Roberts?
I believe I was in front.
You would have pulled into the driveway and parked, and Ms. Roberts would have pulled in and parked behind, correct?
Yes.
And so after the three of you get out of your respective vehicles, what happened?
Karen brings us to the back of the car and she says, look, see, I have a cracked taillight.
And where on the vehicle was she directing yourself and Ms. Roberts' attentions?
The back right.
So passenger side.
Well, yeah, because she hit John's car. That's why she has a cracked taillight. Proof of
Rear
it.
part of the vehicle.
Yes.
And when you looked at that area of the vehicle, what could you see at that?
I saw that there were missing pieces, but there was also snow covering it. And Karen was screaming, look, look. And then Kerry was screaming back at her. It was very chaotic. So I didn't stare in depth, but what I can tell you is I saw missing pieces from the taillight.
Sure you did, Jen.
And
42 of them, right?
at some point, about how long a period of time is this that you're out in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway looking at the cracked taillight?
Not long, because then Kerry's, yelling at her, telling her she's crazy and that she was driving around drunk and she could have hit anything, and kind of rushes us to go into the house to look in there for John.
Your Honor, with court's permission, I would ask if I could publish on the screen what's been marked as exhibit number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, Anthony, because the video doesn't show that.
Mr. McCabe, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
I do.
What is that?
That is Meadows Ave, John's house.
And the driveway that you're talking about as far as where you pulled in, that's not visible in this photograph, correct?
Correct.
So from facing Mr. O'Keefe's house on Meadows,
Yeah, I know.
which side of the photograph?
I remember that.
driveway is the
Good
left?
catch.
The right.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Excuse me.
Yes.
That's what we hope, Megan. Yeah, a very nice house. It was nice. Beautiful house. Big house.
I'm just showing you another photograph. Just actually look at that. Look how it's finished.
Okay.
Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes,
What do you recognize?
that's John's car.
And where is John's car in
Yeah,
relation
right.
to
You're right, Anthony.
It's parked to the side of the driveway.
And you also see sort of the garage area in that photograph?
Yes.
May I approach? I'm going to seek to introduce in the next.
Objection.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish that to the jury now as well.
Okay.
Let's get to Karen's SUV. He's going to ask her. Oh, wait. Yeah. That's John.
Now, Mr. Case, with reference to what's up on the screen, is that the photo that you just had for you?
Yes.
And there are two garage.
I'm just going to speed up a little bit. Karen is woo, eyeballing Jen McCabe. Look at this. This is intense. I remember this. Woo. No, she's lying. Like Karen's looking at her. I cannot believe that you are lying. Look at that.
Okay, I'm showing you two photographs again. If you could just look at those and look up when you're finished. Did you recognize what's in those photographs?
Yes.
I want to
What do
get
you
the
recognize?
video.
The defendant's vehicle.
And, may I approach?
Look at her fucking.
I'm going to call up the introduce and there's the next exhibit.
Objection, Your Honor.
Let's speed it up a little
I'm
bit.
sorry. If I could publish a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 6, which is the ring camera from the driveway.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have video number 154 from the driveway.
Video.
Mr. Case, directing your attention up to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 6 or video from Exhibit 6. Do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
I do.
What do you recognize?
That's myself getting out of the car at Meadows Ave.
Is that essentially where you parked Ms. Reed's vehicle when you pulled in?
Yes.
If you could, just direct the jury's attention with a laser pointer as to where Ms. Reed's vehicle is that you parked and if you see Ms. Roberts' vehicle.
That is Miss Reed's, and that would be Miss Roberts.
And as far as the right garage door that you entered into the house, if you could direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would, I know it's not on the video, but where would it be?
Walk straight.
So if you could run this. Sorry.
Wait, where's the moment that they stopped and looked and went, "Hey, look, my tail light," and she saw the missing pieces. Where is that? Where is it? Did I miss it? Did they stop and have a conversation? I must have missed it. Should I go back? Maybe we missed it. Let's go back a little bit. I'm trying to figure it out. Let's look at that again. Maybe let's just hang on, guys. Let's just back up. Maybe we missed it. Okay. So just watch, because remember, there's the conversation and she's going to say, "Hey, my tail light's broken. Look." And that's when Jen saw the missing pieces. Ready? Okay. Cause I don't know. Maybe we missed it. Ready? Here we go. Cause I just want to watch Jen.
If I could publish a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 6, which is the ring camera from the driveway.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have video number 154 from the
Here we
driveway.
go. Maybe let's just watch it again.
Mr. McCabe, directing your attention up to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 6 or video from Exhibit 6. Do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
I do.
What do you recognize?
That's myself getting out of the car at Meadows Ave.
Is that essentially where you parked Ms. Reed's vehicle when you pulled in?
Yes.
If you could, just direct the jury's attention with a laser pointer as to where Ms. Reed's vehicle is that you parked and if you see Ms. Roberts' vehicle.
That is Miss Reed's, and that would be Miss Roberts.
And as far as the right garage door that you entered into the house, if you could direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would, I know it's not on the video, but where would it be?
Walk straight.
Yeah.
If you could, let
She
us-
walked straight in, she says. She never went back there and looked at the taillight. She just just buried themselves right there. And I'm going to tell you right now, I guarantee you Jackson will go back to this. Believe me, he's going to smash her testimony. He's going to say, you testify that you went and looked at the back of the taillight and you saw the broken taillight. Where does it show that in the video where you had that conversation? Where does it show that Karen Reed pointed out that she has a cracked taillight? Show me. Show me in the video where you had that conversation. What? That never happened. Yeah. Did they come back out? They don't come back out. They're not having a conversation. This is actually burying Lally even more. It's time showing they never came back out.
Mr. McCabe, what was depicted in that video, was that consistent with what you observed, the weather conditions to be around the time that you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
The weather. We go
And
back.
lastly, in this line, Your Honor, if I, with the court's permission, could publish just a very short portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 41. Gentlemen, if I could ask you to fast forward this to about 2 hours and 10 minutes. Maybe you could play it in there. Stop there. And again, what's in this video, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that?
That is John's house.
I'm just going to play it in there. Now, what's depicted in this video, sort of the screen directly in front of you, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
John's driveway.
As far as what, if anything, do you observe in John's drive?
John's car and Karen's car.
And where, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct your attention to where is Bennett's car, where is
Mr. O'Keefe's car and the defendant's.
I like how she
and
called
where
it.
you observe the defendant's car to be, is that essentially where you parked it at that time?
Yes.
May I have a moment?
You may just hold me on.
Sure.
Wonder what was going on here.
I'll see counsel outside for just a minute.
All right, let's speed up a little bit. Let's get to here when they get to Fairview.
Gentlemen, if you could play this for.
Now that's Jen McCabe. Fake tears. You can hear her on the mic. That's fake tears, Jen McCabe. And how the fuck are you gonna tell me with this going on outside, Brian Albert said he didn't hear or see any of this. You can hear Karen screaming already just off the cruiser mic, and you're not going to see those flashing lights or hear this going on outside your house. And what I see is
Okay, do you recognize any of the individuals? Up on it?
panicked and concerned Karen Reed.
Yes.
You could replace the
If
point.
you wanted someone dead, then why would you be panicking? Why would you show concern? Why would you be doing mouth to mouth?
Direct their attention. Who do you recognize? Who do you recognize that?
Carrie Roberts, myself, Karen Reed.
They all got shaky hands.
Come and you can take that. Ms. McCabe, if I could just take you back to when you arrived there, communicated Ms. Reed goes over to Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Roberts. What is it that you were doing at that time?
I got out of the car and I came around, and for a second or two, I completely just froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Look at look at Jackson looking at Jen McCabe right now, and Karen really staring down Jen McCabe. Jackson wants to know her tale of events here. And remember, Jackson was a prosecutor, so he's been down this road before. Look at him looking.
And then Carrie and I made eye contact, and I called 911. And Carrie was asking me to go to the car and get, she was yelling to get towels or blankets or something out of the back of our car.
Is that why the back of the car is opened up in the video that we just saw in reference to Ms. Roberts' vehicle?
Yes.
Did she direct you sort of where to go within the vehicle to find the blankets, towels, whatever it was?
Yes.
You called 911, you spoke to the operator and told them essentially where you were, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as that initial, what you saw, that you froze and couldn't believe what you saw, can you describe to the jury what it was that you saw?
I saw Carrie wiping the snow off of John's face, and I could not believe that that was John laying there.
And how was John positioned, or how was his body positioned when you saw him?
He was just laying flat on his back.
And as far as the snow Ms. Roberts was wiping off his face, was there any other snow on his body at that time?
Yes.
If you know about how much?
There was enough that his body was covered in snow.
Big tears.
And could you tell at that point how far Mr. O'Keefe was from the roadway as far as Fairview Road was concerned?
I mean, I remember kind of a little ways in. I don't know exactly.
And so you make that call to 911, and what is sort of going on with respect to Ms. Roberts, the defendant, and Mr. O'Keefe?
See, she said a little ways in because she doesn't want to go, what was it, 12 feet supposedly from the road? Was it 12 or 6 feet? I would think it was 12 because that would be impossible. So you're saying that Karen backed up supposedly at this 24.2 miles an hour, because that's the new Commonwealth theory, at 60 feet, and then hits John, and John goes flying in the air 12 feet and lands on the ground. That's what their interpretation is. But Jen's not going to say it because she's not going to shore up the 12 feet. They're going to try to get away from that, I bet you.
While you're on that 911.
So I run the blankets over to Miss Roberts, and she's putting kind of lifts.
Trying to play savior now. Oh, we went over, we gave them the blankets, we did everything that we could. They're giving them mouth to mouth, and then she says, "Oh, there's blood." And I go, "Oh, that's interesting. Blood on someone that was supposed to be out there supposedly 6 hours. Fresh blood. Interesting."
Him up, put the blankets underneath him,
Fresh blood.
and she's screaming at Miss Reed to get off of Mr. O'Keefe. And they're kind of yelling back and forth. Karen screaming, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" I, at some points, walk over towards the car.
Is he dead? That sounds very concerning. Someone that is concerned. You know, is my boyfriend dead? Please tell me. That sounds it sounds concerned to me. Not someone that wants someone dead. Why would you ask that question?
Carrie's car to get away because they're so loud. And I was trying to be calm and get help there for John as fast as possible. Carrie starts yelling about doing CPR. She tells Karen to do mouth to mouth. Karen's yelling because as they start, blood starts coming out of John's mouth.
As far as the CPR, that's what you're talking about?
Yes,
So during this time, the defendant's yelling and you're on the phone with 911, correct?
yes,
You're trying to back up or distance yourself a little bit so that you can hear what's going on with the 911 operator and they can hear you.
yes.
And after you complete that 911 call, what's going on with that?
I go over, and at that point, Carrie asks if I can take over doing the compressions.
And did you do that?
I did, yes.
And at some point after you call 911, do either police or fire or someone responds and arrives on scene, is that correct?
Yes.
You know about how much time it was in between when you hung up with 911 and when the first responders started to arrive?
Wait till Jackson asked her on Tuesday, why'd you go back in the house? Why'd you wait? Why'd you leave the scene? If you're so concerned about your friend, why would you walk back inside the Albert house? Oh man, I can't wait for that. That question is going to be grand. The story's terrible.
From when I hung up, maybe a few minutes. I'm not exactly sure.
And do you recall whether or not it was police or fire or who showed up first?
Police.
And is that the officer that was in that video or that cruiser that was just up on the screen as last?
I didn't see the officer, in the video, but I know it was Officer Sarah was the first officer to arrive.
And so then, after the officer arrives, what happened?
He was trying to figure out what had happened. Karen just ran around screaming my name, Carrie's name. Is he dead? Is he dead? It was on repeat. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? More officers started to
We're trying to drive that home too, Jen.
arrive. The EMTs, they began to work on him.
Excuse me.
And while him, by him you mean Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes,
And Mr. O'Keefe's still on the ground and they're working on him there, is that correct?
yes.
Did you see anything about sort of what they were doing or what was going on with that?
No, I just saw a bunch of them around Mr. O'Keefe.
And then what happened then?
More officers began to arrive. And Miss
Okay,
Reed
hurry again.
just continued to run around screaming. As more officers and EMT arrived, they asked what happened. One EMT asked, one EMT had asked, his name, his age, things like that. If she knew what happened, Miss Reed stated that she hit him. Besides running around saying, I hit him, did I hit him, could I have done?
Okay, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden she's changing her story now and saying that, oh, Karen stated that she hit him, not this concern before. Now all of a sudden she stated that she hit him.
This? Is he dead? Is he dead? At one point, one of the police officers put Miss Reed in the back of her cruiser, and he asked for myself to go over with her, and Carrie came over with us as well.
I'd like to just take you back to when the paramedic is asking for information, biographical information, things like that. You indicated that the defendant said, I hit him, is that correct?
Yes,
That's something that she said once or more than once?
3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Oh,
That was
drive it home.
before you had made.
Funny though, she looked at Karen when she said that. She knows she's a liar. Now all of a sudden it's changed. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Now all of a sudden it's I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. So your story has changed. How did you go from could I have hit him to I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? Nice fucking lie.
Reference the statement she made with sort of qualifiers or questions as far as
Three
would I have hit him or did I hit him? Is that what she said at that time when she was speaking to the paramedic?
No, earlier it was could I, did I? When she spoke to the paramedic, it was crystal clear. I hit him.
Oh.
Now, one of the officers takes her over to the back of her cruiser, is that right?
Yes,
You were over in that area as well?
yes.
Wait
If anyone else is over in that area.
Miss Roberts.
And while you were over in that area, what was going on?
We were in the back of the police cruiser. Karen was sitting in there. I kind of scooched myself in. Miss Roberts came over. Karen grabbed our hands. She asked us to pray. She looked at her hand.
Well, this is what I mean. This is not lining up. Because Karen's even asking, pray with me. If you wanted someone dead, why would you be there in concern, asking to pray, asking to save their life? This doesn't add up. It's all bullshit. This is all bullshit. Indy Cindy 01 with a 199er said she had a long time to make the story. Yes, 2.5 years. 2.5 years to rehearse this. And let's add that. We'll make it a $2 super chat. We'll add that to the total. If one of my moderators can drop the total, I think we're well over 250 now. We're probably right at 232. We're probably at 60 now, I would say, minus 25%, $58. I'll round it to 60. All right, let's try to get through this, and then we're going to finish up here. All right, let's go.
Hands, and she had blood. She asked us if she could have gotten her period. We told her no, that was John's blood. Then she said, what if he's dead? Promise me you'll take care of the kids. Someone's going to take care of the kids.
Now, see, she's changed the story again. What if he's dead? So I hit him. I hit him. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Now I hit him. Now I'm telling. It's the story's changing.
Then we prayed. Then at the end,
Jackson's gonna.
They were moving John, and at that point, Karen told Kerry, "Go over, look. Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?" Over and over. And Kerry said, "I'll go over and check on him." And she was yelling, "Are they working on him?" And then at that point, she grabbed my.
They're trying to make it seem like she's saying, "Is he dead? Is he dead? Yeah, he's dead." But the reality is he dead? Oh my God. Is he dead? Is he dead? Oh my God. They're trying to make it seem like, oh, is he dead? Is he dead? Yeah, like she's getting satisfaction out of it. But in reality, she's panicking. Is he dead? Is he dead? That she couldn't believe it. Her boyfriend is not alive. Is he dead? But they're trying to make it seem like that she was vindictive about it and wanted to do it. Is he dead? I'm telling you, the jury's not buying this shit. Jury's not buying it.
My hands, and she said, Google hypothermia, Google how long it takes to die in the cold. And so I had my phone out, and it was cold, and my hands were frozen, and I have MS, and I took my phone out while she was screaming and shaking my arm, and I attempted to Google.
All this, it was cold, I had MS, she was shaking my arm, and that is the cause of the multiple long to die in cold searches. This is the biggest line of bullshit. But Jen doesn't realize the 227 search happened. It doesn't matter how many times you try to change it and you try to add things to the story and elements to the story and you keep trying to embellish it. 227 happened. We know for a fact it happened. Indy Cindy checking in again with a $2. She says, oh, here we go. It happened.
How long does it take to die in the cold?
And when you conducted that search, that was at the defendant's request on scene sometime after 6 a.m. on that day, correct?
Yes.
You recall whether or not that came up as far as you're searching Google? Is it something that you typed once or more than once?
I believe I did it multiple times because as I was typing it, I don't know what else was coming up. She was screaming. My hands were shaking.
Oh.
And do you recall anything as far as what the search results were, or did you click on anything, or did you get an answer to the question the defendant posed to you?
I don't even think I got an answer because as I kept Googling and she kept yelling and then they were moving John. And the next thing I knew we were kind of moving because she wanted to see if they were working on him.
And so you were moving along with the defendant over towards where Mr. O'Keefe had gone to the back of the ambulance?
Yes, we kind of just moved to see what was going on.
When you moved over, what did you see then?
They were just putting him in the back of the ambulance.
Now, after Mr. O'Keefe was put into the back of the ambulance, where did you go then?
At that point, different police officers, I believe, were arriving and they were asking questions about what happened.
And did you speak to those officers?
I did, yes.
And at that point, did you know what happened?
No, to be honest, it was like I was there, but everything was just going on, and I was.
It's so surreal. Look at this psychopath. Kathleen, thank you so much for the 5 on Cash App or Venmo, either or. Thank you so much for the donation. We'll add that to the total. Tuesday is going to be electric. I'm going to do a couple more minutes here and then wrap this up. We're well over 3 hours and it's late, and I'm going to get out of here. And I hate to leave 600 of you in the chat, but we have a lot of new subscribers that have joined on. A lot of, let's see, we are at presently 19,878. We're getting so close to 20,000. I can feel it. Let's get to 20,000. 20,000 subscribers here on LTL Media. Gosh, that'd be great. All right, let's play a little bit more here. Kristen, thank you so much for the 10. She says, problem Jen McCabe has is that Mulvaney confirmed Jen McCabe was not with Karen Reed in the back of the cruiser, in addition to the digital evidence. You are so right, Kristen. Thank you so much for the 10. I appreciate it. We'll add it to the total, and total donations tonight of $244. 25% will get you back to Karen Reed, and I will post receipts after on my Facebook page and the YouTube community tab. And then also you can just go right to the donation site and you will see LTL chat raiser, and the date will be there under 5/18/2024. And I think we're at about $60 kickback right now. So I appreciate everything that you all have done this evening. All right, let's play a little bit more and then we're going to wrap this one up.
I was completely just in a state of shock and disbelief.
And that sort of period there, how long did that go on?
So I talked to a few officers. We tried to just give them, you know, he didn't come home. We went out looking for him, kind of just the brief overview. And then one of the police officers asked me to go into the house and to wake up my sister and my brother-in-law.
And
Why would
at some points while you were outside, did you
So this is
try to
going to
contact?
explain why she ran back in at 6:30. And there's no, and I'm already going to tell you right now, Jackson's going to find or say that no police officer told her to do that. I guarantee it. And no officer would tell you to leave the scene out front. He would go, wait a minute, you need to hang right here. We need to get some statements or talk to some witnesses to see what happened and what you know. They wouldn't just say, walk away from the scene and go inside the house and wake people up that live there. That's ridiculous. A police officer should have walked up and knocked on that door immediately when all this was going down in the front yard and said, hey, do you know anything about what's going on? Hey, do you know about the person that's hurt, dead, or dying that's in your front lawn right now? Can you tell us if you heard or seen anything? They're not going to look at someone that's on scene and say, oh, go run up there and knock on the door and go inside and wake those people up. Makes no sense. This is a complete bullshit story.
Sister and your brother-in-law?
I believe I called my sister, Nicole.
And when was that in relation to everything as far as medically that was going on with Mr. O'Keefe and all?
I think I might have called her right after I got off with 911 possibly. And then, you know, she didn't answer. And that's when I was walking over, I believe, to John.
And she didn't answer the call when you called her initially?
No.
And you recall calling either your sister Nicole or your brother-in-law Brian Albert prior to going into the house?
I don't recall. I know I did.
I literally watch body cam videos like on my time away from like doing this. And every time that a proper police officer comes up on scene and there's multiple people and something might have happened, the first thing they do is, hey, don't walk away. Come here. Hey, get over here. I need to talk to you. They wouldn't just be like, hey, there's someone dead or dying on this front lawn. Can you go up there and knock on that door for me? Just go up there and tell those people to come out. That would not happen.
Call Nicole at one point. I'm not sure if I called Brian or not.
Regardless of if you called, you didn't call, you recall having any sort of phone conversation with either Nicole or Brian Albert before you went in the house?
No.
So you at least called your sister Nicole, she didn't answer, and then one of the officers directed you to wake them up.
Yes.
Now, when you went up to the house at 34 Fairview, how did you get in?
The front door.
And the front door was unlocked?
Yes.
Is that your experience?
They're just going to let you walk away, go up to a house that they don't even know if you're related to this person. You're going to walk away, and then they're just going to allow you to walk into someone's open door house. Sure.
at that residence?
Yes.
And so you enter the house, and where did you go?
I went up the stairs to their bedroom.
And the bedroom door, when you arrived there, was it open or closed or something?
Closed.
And you opened it?
Yes.
And when you opened it, who, if anyone, did you see in the room, and what were they doing?
I saw my sister and Brian, and they were both asleep.
And
They haven't woken up yet. You've come into someone's house, you've come into their room, and they're still sleeping. Not buying it. And wait a minute, if Chloe's in the room, wouldn't Chloe jump up and alert someone that they're inside a room? Wouldn't the dog get up and bark? Wouldn't the dog get up and notify anybody? Let's just even say Brian Albert slept through all of that. But Jen McCabe runs inside the house upstairs in a panic to let you know that Officer John O'Keefe is dead or dying on your front lawn. And you're going to tell me Chloe never jumped up once, barked, made any notion. All she says is that Brian and his wife is still asleep. This is total bullshit. I ain't fucking buying any of it. Any of it all. $249 total. Thank you, Rogue. I appreciate it. And I think I missed a super chat. Indy says, whose eyes look like that when they are truthful? No one's. All right, a couple more minutes here, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Dog that they have?
Yes.
What was the dog's name?
Chloe?
Was Chloe in the bedroom as well at that time?
I don't recall.
Oh, give me a
You come in,
break.
they're both sleeping, and
Brian Albert said the dog was in there. Sometimes, remember, Chloe sleeps in the closet. This story's all falling apart.
what happened then?
I go over to the bed, and I'm calling out their names.
Yeah, just they don't.
And how long were you calling out their names before you got any kind of response?
Brian responded first, and he was very, startled and looked at me like, what is going on?
So all
Nicole-
of a sudden, all the sirens, all the fire, everything that's come down there, all the EMS workers have come down. This is the thing that wakes you up. Okay.
Took a little, and I think it took Nicole a little bit longer than Brian to wake up.
And what is it that you're telling them as you're coming into the room and they're waking up?
I'm telling them that we just found John out front, and I could have possibly said John has died. We just found John out front. They were very confused. At one point, I think Brian was like, who's John? I mean, they had just woken up and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Now, as far as when they're first waking up and you're explaining to them, how would you describe
Biggest kind of crap I've ever heard in my entire life.
They were both shocked. I think they thought, like, why?
Next, not what you think is.
But what I'm asking them is just sort of when you observe them, how would you describe your physical observations of what they look like, their demeanor in that response?
Shocked, confused, not understanding.
Strike the last one.
Now, as far as this conversation that you're having with your sister and your brother-in-law in their bedroom, how long was that going on?
A few minutes, at least.
And then following that, where did you go?
They got up, got dressed, and then we walked down the stairs.
Okay.
When you got to the bottom of the stairs, what, if anything, did you see when you got
Bit
there?
of coffee.
There was a police officer at the bottom of the stairs.
Oh, how convenient.
Guys, you
You're
know who that
already
police
inside
officer
the
is?
house.
Yes, Officer Link.
At that time, did you know who that police officer was?
How convenient. The officer was already inside the house. How convenient is that? You walk downstairs and an officer has come into your house. Who let that officer in? Officers just walk inside people's houses? I don't think so. I don't think so. You come downstairs, 3 people come downstairs, and magically there's the police officer has just entered your house. Would not happen.
I did, yes.
How did you know?
He's from Canton. He was, I don't know, 5 years older than me. I knew him kind of growing up, who he was, and met him through the years.
You're aware of who he was.
Yes.
And were there any other officers with him initially?
No.
Now, before you go into the house, do you know where Ms. Roberts and the defendant were, or what they were doing when you went to the house?
I believe they put Karen in a car, and
Only if you know.
okay.
If you know. Do you know?
Karen was in a car. Kerry was walking all around.
Now, as far as the ambulance with Mr. O'Keefe, at the time that you go into the house, was that ambulance still there?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it had left.
And when you come downstairs with your sister and your brother-in-law, and the officer's there, you have a conversation, is that correct?
Yes.
Where did that first conversation occur?
In the hallway and then into the kitchen.
And from there, you mentioned that there was Officer Lank at one point. Were there any other officers that joined that conversation at some point?
Hours later, yes.
And so during that initial conversation, you're talking to the officer, who if anyone else, not what they said, but who if anyone else is speaking to the officer.
Brian and Nicole.
And the conversation initially with the officer, you know about how long that went on.
I don't. A few minutes.
And following that conversation, what did you do or what happened?
My husband arrived.
And had you called him?
Yes.
And when had you called him?
I called him when I was walking in the house to wake up my sister and Brian.
So as you're walking in, you call your husband Matt, and then he arrives at some point after. Is it after you're done talking to the officer or while you're talking to the officer?
The officer was still in the house, yes.
And so in that vein, as far as when your husband comes in, the officer's there, correct?
Yes.
Did you see your husband talking to the officer as well?
Yes, the officer asked him to step outside or step to the side, and they spoke.
And then what happened then?
The officer told me to stay.
Told her to stay.
The officer told me to stay, and that he said that the state police would be coming to talk to me.
So now they tell her to stay, not outside when she was out there at the scene. She's been allowed to walk back inside a house, had a conversation with the two people that are inside the house, come downstairs. There's an officer there, and now he says that she has to stay and talk to the Mass State Police. Okay.
And so you stayed at the house at 34 Fairview, is that right?
Yes.
You know where Ms. Roberts and the defendant were?
Yes, Carrie came up, and she had told me that she...
Not what she told you.
Right, Char?
Next question, Mr. Mayor.
At some point, did you see Ms. Roberts and the defendant go?
Yes, to pick up John's parents.
Objection, move to strike.
I'll strike that.
Exactly.
And as far as they left in Ms. Roberts' car, is that right?
Correct.
Ms. Roberts was again driving.
Correct.
And at some point, did you observe them come back to the house?
Yes.
About how long was it between the time they left and the time they came back?
5 minutes, approximately.
And after they came back to the house, what, if any, other activity did you see outside as far as first response?
I was in the house, so I didn't see Miss Roberts pull back up.
You were in the house for most of the rest of the time that you were there, is that correct?
Correct.
How long were you there that morning, waiting for the state police?
I believe I left approximately 11:30.
During the time that you were there, you're there, your sister Nicole Albert's there, your brother-in-law Brian Albert's there, and your husband Matthew McCabe's there, correct?
Correct.
And was there anybody else that arrived at some point over the course of the morning while you were there at the house?
Yes.
And who was that? And if you know about what time was it that they arrived?
Julie Albert.
Now, with reference to when Julie Albert arrived, at some point around that time, did you have occasion to look out and see sort of what was going on outside?
No.
Were you aware whether or not there were any police or fire or anything that was still there at the time that Miss Julie Albert arrived?
There wasn't.
And she comes in the house, and at some point, I'm assuming she's informed of what had transpired there before her arrival, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And when she's informed of that, what, if anything, did you observe about her demeanor or how she reacted?
Shocked.
Now, in addition to Julie Albert, who, if anyone else, was at the house that morning while you were there?
Officer Lang and Gallagher were there. And Brian Higgins came that morning.
And do you know how Brian Higgins came to know or how Brian Higgins came to be there that morning? Did you know?
I don't know.
Now, you mentioned that Officer Lang came back to the house, is that right?
Yes.
That was after some period of time when he had left?
Yes.
He came back with another officer named Gallagher, is that right?
Yes.
And why did they come back to the house?
Because I called Officer Lang.
And did you have his number, or how did you get his number if you did?
Julie Albert gave it to me.
And so you called Officer Lang, he then comes back to the house on Fairview, is that right?
No
Yes.
details she remembers.
And when he came back, what is it that why had you asked him to come?
Well, as I was sitting there and I was waiting for the state police to come, I was slowly trying to piece together
Yeah.
what had just
I mean,
happened in the last couple of hours.
I know.
And he had told me, if there's anything that you remember, once,
Right.
if you remember anything, please, give me a call.
Sure. We'll
And
call
so there was
her.
something that you remembered and you gave him a call.
Yes.
And when he
She,
came back to the house, what was it
she's trying to put all the pieces together. I mean, just all this dramatic thing that happened.
that you told him?
It's so bullshit.
I told him about the comments and the remarks that Karen Reed had
Yeah.
been stating that morning.
Right.
And specifically, what type of remarks are you referring to that you told Officer Lank when he came back?
I said that she told one of the EMTs that she hit him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, at some point, you indicated that you left the house on Fairview, is that right?
Yes.
And with your husband, I presume?
Yes.
And where did the two of you go?
We went home.
And your children were still there without either you or your husband there, is that correct?
Yes.
And she left her kids, by the way, too.
And once you arrived back home,
Her young kids, by the way.
what is it that you did at that point?
We went in the house and Officer Proctor was coming over to speak with us.
And that Officer Proctor, is that someone that you knew previously or had ever met?
I'd never met Officer Proctor.
And did he
Sure.
come alone or was he with someone?
He had another officer with him.
You know who that officer is?
Yes, Yuri Buchanan.
And have
Bukaki?
you ever met Yuri Buchanan?
No.
Sure.
When you get home, about how long was it at the time from when you arrived home with your husband to the time that the officers from the state police came out?
It was pretty quick.
Now, in addition to the officers from the state police, did anybody else come over to your house on that day, late morning, early afternoon?
Yes, my brother-in-law, Brian.
And do you know why he came over that day?
Yes, he came over. I had asked him, he's like a big brother to me, and I was all shaken up and nervous and overwhelmed. And so I wanted his support.
And he obliged and he came over, correct?
Yes.
Now, at some point after the officers from the state police came over, you spoke to them, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall where in your home you spoke to them?
In my dining room.
And when you spoke to them, was it both of the officers that were present?
Yes.
And was there anybody else present in the dining room when you were talking?
No.
And as far as your
In the
husband or your brother-in-law,
90
Brian, do you know where in the
199er.
house they were when you were in the dining room?
Yes, they were in my bedroom.
And at some point later on that day, those same officers talked to both your husband and your brother-in-law, Brian.
Yes.
And during each of those respective conversations or interviews, do you know where you were in the house when those were going on?
In my bedroom.
All right, I'm going to end this here. We only got about another 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm going to end. We've done almost a 4-hour live here, probably one of the longest live streams I've done since I've been on the channel. I want to recognize this super chat, $10 to help Karen Reed. God bless her and her family for justice for her and John O'Keefe. Thank you so, so much. I do appreciate everybody this evening. So we're at 261 total, and we'll kick 25% back. 261 minus 25%. I can do my fuzzy math. We're at $65. So $65 will get kicked back to Karen Reed. I'll make the donation right after I get off the stream. All right, so that is it. We saw the cross of Matt McCabe and then the direct from Jen McCabe. And Tuesday is going to be fire. I'm going to tell you, Alan Jackson is ready. And I think Jen McCabe's going to have her hands full on Tuesday. Big time. So we'll see how it all plays out. Unfortunately, I have to work on Tuesday, so I'm probably going to miss the testimony and I'll have to go back and do a review, which is fine. So if you all want to come back and watch it live with me sometime this week, I would appreciate it. I appreciate all the subscribers, all the people that made donations tonight. Just to keep in mind, 25% of it will get kicked back to Karen Reed. I will make that donation immediately off after I get off the stream and post receipts up on my Facebook page, LTL Media, and on my YouTube community page. And then for full transparency, you can go right to the defense link that I'll drop in that post. And you'll be able to see there on the recent donations, it will say LTL Media Chat Raiser, and then today's date, 5/18/2024. So $65 will get kicked back to Karen. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I know the Reeds appreciate it. And I know Karen appreciates it. I'm sure that Karen appreciates it as well. But I do know her mother and father watch the show, and they're very proud what we have done here to help the Defense Fund. So with that, my friends, I'm going to end it, get some rest. It's about 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, and I will talk with all of you soon. Do me a favor. If you are new here or you are old here, make sure to turn on your bell notifications so you get notifications when I go live. And I'll give you another site that you can go to too. Make sure to subscribe on my Facebook page, LTL Media. I drop every single time that I'm going to go live on that Facebook page. So if you're not getting the notifications here, you will get the notifications on the Facebook page, because only 33% of new viewers that come over here and subscribe here are new here, subscribe. So we're missing 75% of people. We're close to 75. And another thing too, like 50% of the people that watch this channel are not even subscribed. So please just hit the subscribe button. That's it. Let's get this channel to 20,000 subscribers by Monday. That'll be a real treat. So anyway, thank you all tonight. I'm tired. I'm sure you're all tired. Long live, almost 4 hours tonight. And I appreciate your undivided attention. And thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a very long ride here. But the channel's going strong, because of all of you, because of all the subscribers and members and the people that come to these lives. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you like my take on things. Like I said, I'm live, I'm loud. That's the way we do it here. And I just call it the way I see it. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to hit the outro. Everybody have a fantastic night. Thank you, members. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, subscribers. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take the change and set the track.